everything's hooked through there, and then the camera on top. And...
Okay.
So,
all right. Get this party started.
Yep, enough audio engineering bullshit. Hello. It is, it's us. It's Pot of the Dead.
Hi, guys.
On today's episode, we will be covering The Menu from 2022. I am Nicholas, your host, and with me, as always, are the two beautiful ladies, Natasha and Stephanie.
Hello.
So, on today's episode, as I said, we're covering The Menu, which came out last year. We watched it. I've seen this. Steph has seen this. Tasha has seen this. So yep. This is one of those movies that we all have a little bit of a history on. So that'll be a little different. Like there's been very few. Scream is maybe the only other one that comes to mind with that. But Tasha, what is your history with this movie?
So I'm a self-proclaimed foodie, so that's what really interested me from this, from the get-go of this. I saw that it was set in like a fancy restaurant. So I watched it pretty soon after it came out. I had been waiting for it to release, because the concept sounded really cool. So this is my second time watching it, and it holds up.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Steph?
Well, we learned about this from Tasha. So she was like, well, we had seen it and we were like, well, maybe we want to watch this at some point. I remember us discussing it, and then we just never got around to it. And Tasha was like, this movie's really good. You should watch it. And we did. And it was way different than I thought it was going to be. And so we saw it that one night, and then we saw it last night again. And then today, our daughter Maya, she watched it with us last night, and she decided that she was going to show everybody in the house it today because she needed everybody else to see this movie. So I was like kind of going in and out of the room today, watching it kind of again, but not fully. So I definitely saw like the middle and then again, the end again. So it's like 2.35 times or whatever. So that's my history with this movie.
Yeah, mine's basically the same thing. Like, I don't think it was only Tasha though that suggested it. I think Kylie, our daughter Kylie, I think mentioned it before we watched it, or did we turn her? I thought she did. I could be wrong, but I thought
she likes the girl that's in it because she's from The Witch. I think she mentioned it, but I don't know if she watched it before or after us. And I can't remember if she's even. No. I don't know. I'm gonna have to talk to her about it. She's the only one I haven't she's the only one I haven't discussed this with, so I don't know.
Okay. But so let's see here. Before we get into all the nitty gritty stuff, Tasha, do you want to give us a little overview of what this movie is about?
Yeah, The Menu is a 2022 American comedy horror film directed by Mark Mylod, written by Seth Reese and Will Tracy, based on an original story created by Tracy, produced by Adam McKay, Betsy Kosh, and Will Ferrell. The film stars Ralph Fiennes, a celebrity chef, with Hong Chow playing his assistant, and Anya Taylor-Joy, Nicholas Hoult, Janet McTeer, Reed Birney, Judith Light, Amy Carrero, and John Leguizamo playing diners who attend his exclusive restaurant.
Yeah, so I was actually pretty surprised when I saw who was in like the production of this film and stuff like that. Like Adam McKay and all that stuff. Like Will Ferrell is a producer on this movie and stuff. Like,
okay.
So I watched this originally blind, thinking it was going to go one way, and then I had to do some research after the fact to figure out if... I feel like I'm going to give away spoilers if I say too much, but I had to go back through and double check like who wrote it to see if it was either a really good movie done well or it completely hit the mark or missed the mark.
Yeah, because it's like, I don't look at this movie like they say it is. I guess I can see, because they say it's a comedy horror satire kind of thing, and it doesn't.
No, it's not funny.
Well, I mean, it is in the sense.
I think it has its moments
in the satire thing of like what Ralph Fiennes, is that right? Ralph Fiennes? I always want to say Ray. It's Ralph Fiennes.
The guy who plays Tyler, I guess. Yeah, he has.
Well, no, not Tyler. Voldemort.
Oh, that
chef.
right. Oh, yeah. I guess. Okay,
The chef.
wrong guy.
Yeah, he
Okay.
like him, just like how he's just putting everybody on blast, and like the whole thing is just rubbing their noses in a lot of stuff basically throughout the film. If you're siding with him through the film, it is a comedy, like, in a way. Yes, it's dark and it's
Okay, I guess I can see that. There's a couple parts of it that I laughed at just because of like how insane it is because of his character. But I guess I never looked at this movie and been like, this is a comedy. Ever.
well, it's not.
I definitely think it's more of a satire
Okay.
than a comedy. Like it's sarcastic in a lot of ways, and it pokes a lot of fun at like the molecular gastronomy, high end, like highfalutin.
It definitely
like,
does
food
that.
scene.
Yes, that's true.
That's what I got a lot of enjoyment out
I
of.
guess I just never look at it that way. So
Yeah, it definitely like pokes a lot of holes in their balloons, as it were. Like they think that they're so cool and all this stuff, and this movie definitely pisses all over that.
it kind of brings them down a peg or 2 or 10. I mean,
10.
that's kind of the entire point of this. That's what I liked about it. It's like it shits on the elite essentially, and makes them not as important as they think they are. And like I really liked that.
Right.
That aspect of it, I guess.
And I also read a review about this movie and the parallels between the food scene and the elitist film culture.
Oh, that
also.
makes sense. Okay.
Elitist
Yeah.
film culture. I don't know who they're talking about in that.
Exactly. I was wondering if you were going to pick up on that, man.
Music too, maybe, Nick.
Are we just popping? Got anything else you want to say, guys? Jesus fucking Christ!
No, I think I'm good.
You asked for it. Thank you.
Did what? I said once. I said one word. I was just like, I don't know who they're talking about, and it's just like,
What is
go
your
fuck
name?
yourself.
What's your name on here? What's your name?
Exactly.
Elitist
name?
scum. Yeah.
Oh, hello.
Oh, and I thought we were talking about.
So what do you
Well, I
expect?
thought we were talking about movies. Now we're just taking elitist pop shots at me and everything that I like.
In every
Every one of
category.
them.
Yes, but it's true.
Oh, you like cats over dogs? Scum. That's fine. It's fine.
Oh, man.
I know I'm better than everybody. It's okay.
That's not funny. Yeah.
There it is. There it is.
We'll just capture. I'll just cut that.
Yeah. No.
But before we go really deep into this, the menu, I'm going to throw up a spoiler warning. After the spoiler warning, we will be going into the film, but stick around for just a second. Don't run away yet. This is a movie club. So at the end of this episode, usually like the last 5 minutes or so, if you've not seen the menu, I believe we all suggest that you go watch it. It's an hour and 40 some minutes. It's actually a quick 1:43, and come back and listen to us. If you don't give a shit about spoilers or you've already seen the film, just stick through. But like I said, last 5 minutes will tell you what movie we will be watching in the coming week to go over for next week's episode, so you can be up to speed with us.
I think that this movie kind of falls not necessarily as important as like the Barbarian movie is in terms of like not knowing anything about it going in. But I do think that this is one of those movies that you should probably go in a little more blind. Because you're going to get a lot more appreciation and understanding, I think, in the film because of how it's played out instead of knowing what's going to happen. So while listening to other people or reading reviews or having conversations about it prior, I would suggest not doing that. The movie Barbarian, we've already covered before. That movie was very much like that, too, because you just don't want to ruin stuff for yourself. There are certain movies that it doesn't really matter on. And I think this movie, it does matter on because of the way that it builds.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things like going in to any movie, like you're saying, blind is better. But this one, I'm not familiar with the trailers or anything. I could really see the suspense being kind of snuffed a bit if you know anything about it. Like, all I knew about it going in was Tasha, and I believe Kylie, I don't know, suggested that we watch it. And then I saw Anya Taylor-Joy was in it, Ralph Fiennes was in it, John Leguizamo was in it, the dude that played Beast in like the newer X-Men movies. I know he's played other stuff too.
Warm.
That's
Okay,
Nicholas
he's the one that
Hoult.
played. He's the warm bodies guy to me. Like he played a zombie. So
He was also in Renfield.
oh yeah, duh. Oh, he is
Yeah.
Renfield. So okay,
Yeah.
yeah, he's a really good actor. He did great in this movie. So
He plays the style of characters that he does well. I just hate those style of characters.
yeah, kind of like he's not really, I guess, super likable in most of his roles. I guess
he
Isn't he likable in Beat?
I haven't seen him as Beast, so I don't know.
he's whatever.
I remember him being like caring and kind, kind of a complete 180 from his role.
I just
here.
always think of him in most movies as kind of spineless.
Yeah,
That's just kind of how I always read his characters.
That's true. Yeah.
Like, and I don't care for spineless characters. Yes, they have their purpose and stuff like that, but that's not somebody I'm going to root for.
Yeah, I don't. Well, I think a little bit. It changes a little bit in Renfield. I think because like I think that was a very good movie, but that was just different in general.
Yeah, that's a completely different thing. But anyway, so before we really go into it, spoiler warning has been up. If you're still around here, it's your own fucking problem. We've got a couple spicy reviews coming right at you.
But what's the budget of this movie? Because I always want to know that. Yeah.
You want to know that first?
Oh yeah, I always want to know that first because that gives me an idea of what we're going to be talking about a little bit more.
All right, so let's see here. I believe I've got it. If I don't, I'm failing everybody. So yeah, let's see here.
Tasha, didn't he just go into this saying that he did all of his homework and he did so good and he's got all this
I
information
said that
to give
to
us?
you before
Right.
Tasha was on here.
Oh,
But no,
okay,
I
sorry.
do have it.
But you would think of all things.
I had it brought up. I just forgot to copy paste it. So give me 1 second.
Okay.
I got it.
Oh, you're gonna do it to us. All right. So
The budget was
don't tell us. What do you think the budget was, Steph?
Okay, so this movie's got some heavy hitters and it's beautiful. Like this movie's very pretty. I'm gonna go with
I'm gonna
9
guess
million.
like 20 million.
the answer is 30 million.
Yeah,
Holy
that makes
shit!
sense.
Oh my god, that's a
Considering
lot.
who all
Yeah.
is in the movie, and then what I like, who wrote, produced, all that stuff, it makes sense. Like it came out from a.
It's a heavy hitter. Okay, so how much did it make?
I have a
Any guesses? Or
I have a
just-
vague
Just tell
memory
us.
of it, but I'm gonna.
Okay.
It was like 70 million.
Are we doing worldwide or U.S.?
Technically worldwide. So
Worldwide is $79.6 million.
So they doubled their money.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't
That's
remember
not too
this
bad.
getting released into theaters. Did it, or was it just okay? I just remember watching
Did it?
it
Okay.
it
streaming.
came out in theaters. I believe it was like a week or two after the second Black Panther movie, because its opening weekend it was second to Black Panther: Wakanda Forever.
Gotcha.
Which does not mean that this movie's worse than that film, because I like the Marvel films for what they are. And Wakanda Forever sucks.
I mean, Namor was good, but yeah, Wakanda Forever was just severely lacking. Yeah,
I didn't see it.
I had better hopes for it. It did not
I've
come
got
out well.
better things to do with 2.5 hours of my time.
That's true.
Okay.
Like watch the
you
menu
can watch
again.
the menu almost twice, and
Yeah.
this is one of those movies that watched it the first time, thought it was good. Watched it the second time. I think I liked it a little more the second time. After researching it, I like it even more because there is so much like underlying things that you just do not pick up on that is heavily it all makes sense in like the theming of the movie. So I can't wait to lay some of that shit on you girls.
Okay. Well, you kind of pick that up as you're watching it. Like there's things in there that you're seeing. Like I said, this movie has the best legitimate quotes from a specific character, Chef, that I have probably ever seen in maybe any movie. He has the best, just like dialogue. It is
really
beautiful.
You put this as like I'm not disagreeing that he doesn't have like great dialogue and stuff like that, but you're putting him like up like it's amazing. Yeah, it's really good only because it fits really well in the context and it hits like it's supposed to hit. So I think that in this overarching theme of what this movie is, it hits pretty much perfection in terms of the way he's building the world and the way that he's communicating with our customers, let's say.
I could agree with that because a lot of what he says seems very like he doesn't say a lot, but what he does say is really purposeful throughout the whole movie. Mm-hmm. So
and it hits hard. Yeah. Like some of that stuff I was reading, I was like, this movie is full of so many quotes, and it's not the cheesy quotes you get that people laugh at and all that. It's like stuff that is exceptionally meaningful. And I think just in general,
right on. Like what goes to my brain instantly when it's like best quotes, like characters with like flawless quotes throughout an entire film kind of thing. I instantly go to like Kevin Spacey in Seven, like when he does start talking and stuff at the end and everything, like everything that he's saying is so poignant. And the same thing with what's his name? Oh, I'm losing credit. Silence of the Lambs. Fucking yep. Anthony Hopkins. Jesus.
There it is.
Anthony Hopkins in Silence of the Lambs. Literally everything he's like, that's what my brain goes to. So when you're saying that, I'm like, do I put them in the same boat? Like, I'm not saying I do. I'm not saying I don't. It definitely, I've never thought of it in that way.
Well, I think it depends on like if you're talking about the character as themselves, like they're the villains or they're not the villains. Like I can't remember. Like I know Seven. You harken back to that all the time because that's one of your favorite movies. I know I've watched it. It's been a long time and I haven't paid close enough attention to it, so I can't pull from that. But like I can from Silence of the Lambs. That movie is beautiful in itself, but he's the villain of the story. This story, Chef is not necessarily the villain. Right. I mean, in my opinion, I think he is just a very tragic character, tired of being treated like absolute dog shit by the world's elite. And you can kind of side with him a lot in this because of that. And you don't look at him as the bad guy.
I mean, there's some arguments to be made considering that he basically is poised as a cult leader.
Well, I think we should just get into it because there's a lot that could make you lean one way or another.
But
true. All right, so let's do our reviews and then
let's start with our 10 out of 10.
So if you want to be a part of our club, you can find us at facebook.com/podofthedead or else on Instagram at pod_of_the_dead or on TikTok at podofthedead. If you want to email us any questions, any complaints, or movie recommendations, you can email us at podofthedead666@gmail.com. Out of 10.
Tasha.
This movie, of death.
Yes.
Warning, spoilers. We've already called spoiler warning, so we're good.
Okay. Yeah.
This is, I'm just, then it goes, this movie, all caps, this movie. They're very passionate. I think I'm at a point in my movie watching career where I find very few new movies entertaining and find even less, quote, shocking. This, to me, was both. The characters are well acted and the scenes are masterfully shot. The plotline, so good. The sectioning of each, quote, course is wildly entertaining. I agree with that. It's one of my favorite parts of the movie. The big reveal happens and you find out that all the diners and staff are set to die by the end of the meal. And even worse, Tyler knew from before the movie begins is just wild. The sheer ridiculous lavishness and luxuriousness of each plate is laughably good. Ralph Fiennes' acting is wonderful. His sheer apathy adds so much depth to the movie, surprisingly. I only wish I could give it more stars. May you enjoy it as much as I did. Bon appetit.
So I've got a little something to say that kind of ties with that review a little bit. I think this is almost the best time for me to drop this, because like how they're talking about like expertly shot, all this stuff, right? So the 7 deadly sins are covered by the 6 tables in this film, plus staff. So greed is Soren, Dave, and Bryce, who embezzled. Gluttony is Tyler, who's willing to die for food. Lust is Richard, who cheated on his wife. Envy is George, who's a washed-up name-dropping actor. Pride is Lillian and Ted, who believe the dinner is just for them. Sloth is Julian's mother, who did nothing to stop her husband's abuse. Wrath is Julian and the other chefs who murder everyone. I read that and I was like,
that's cool.
I was like, Jesus Christ.
Awesome.
And then there are 12 dining guests, just like apostles in the Last Supper.
Dang.
That's kind of awesome. That makes this movie better. I mean, yeah, I would never pick that up though. Realistically, like I liked all of the aspects of all of them and the way that it's portrayed in this. That we get to know these characters, but I would have never.
When I read that when I was doing my research and stuff, I was just like, holy shit! And I was just like, that attention to detail with the blocking of writing this, that's what I really, really, really like that kind of nuance and stuff. So that.
This is like an artist's dream film, in my opinion. Like, it's just so beautiful and it is so purposeful, and it's very artistic in that way. Like, if you are not a person that wants to sit, it reminds me in a completely different aspect of like watching The Witch, in that sense, because you have to pay attention to everything and everything has a purpose, and it is beautiful in a completely different way. But I like it because it's so artistic. And
I think there's another layer added to this where it's almost like the movie knows how artistic and beautiful and well thought it is, that they can also make fun of that aspect of it. That's my favorite part, because like The Witch was beautiful and great. Yes. And then this movie just adds that added layer of, we know what we're doing here. We're going to give you something to giggle about. They also, like, this is just kind of like me watching it and picking up on this. Every time they do the course, like a course or whatever, and they like show the food and everything, those are almost exact shots that you see when you watch like Iron Chef, where they plate and display a meal. It's like these slow rotating shots around the food with extreme dramatic lighting and stuff. And I was like, that's 100% what they're trying to cultivate, is that look, that lavishness. Tyler mentions the show Chef's Table, and that's actually a show on Netflix, and the way that they're shot is identical to how they do it in there, with the black background, just the plate, the name off to the side. That's like straight from Chef's Table.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, that's fun. Yeah, I like it. Well, I think the difference, like what you were saying, Tasha, I think the difference is this is a relatable movie in the sense of the feeling that you have, and I think the pretension here is like all-time high. So in like The Witch, because I was using that as a comparison, it's not relatable. Like it's just an artistic historical film that you can appreciate because it's depth. But this is in itself, like, I find a lot of the things that he said, and it's probably because I am my own artist, like I write for a living, I can really understand where his feelings come from, the chef's feelings do, when he portrays that to his customers, because it's like, I feel a lot of that stuff too, bro.
Before we do the 1 out of 10, I couldn't help though, like every single time Chef was talking and stuff, I don't know how many times I said this while the movie's going on, I just kept going, the boy who lived.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he's like telling Maya as we're laying there, he's like, that's Voldemort. And she's like, no, it's not. He's like, yes, it is. She's like, he doesn't even look like him. I was like, he doesn't have a nose in Harry Potter. Like, I'm like, but he's such a good actor. My God.
I was going to watch
good.
In Bruges after that, but it was only on Stars, and I didn't want to come downstairs and pull out my Blu-ray copy. Anyway.
He also plays a terrifying guy in The Red Dragon.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
That was my first.
I forgot about that.
I haven't seen that in forever.
Going back to Silence of the Lambs. It's in that whole line. So, 1 out of 10. What do we got?
Okay, 1 out of 10.
We can basically say, though, none of us are probably going to agree with this, right? We all like this movie in some
Nobody is. I love this movie, so yes. Okay. I'm excited to see this. These are always so.
This episode will be tearing apart this review.
Okay. I went to this movie excited by the reviews of previous watchers. The screenwriting is exceptional. One of the most unique experiences ever. The food is salivating. None of the above statement was remotely associated to the experience I endured.
Oh boy.
They did not watch the Exorcist. That's enduring. The story is truly unoriginal. Disgruntled employee goes psycho and kills everyone. Oh, so new.
That's such
they completely missed the mark.
That's such a baseline. That
the
is
complexity here is way more than that.
Technically, what happened? Technically,
but he didn't. No, you said he goes mad.
It says disgruntled employee goes psycho.
This was so well thought out, months and months and months in advance.
Yeah, he's not a spree killer. He's very methodical. Still could be a psychopath.
Okay.
Yes, but it's still built in a way that it's not a disgruntled goes psycho and kills everyone. No. Okay, whatever. The crimes for which people were punished were so ridiculous. I cringed. Startup yuppies send money to the Cayman Islands. Oh, shock. Bad reviews on culinary reviews make restaurants close. Oh my God, unheard of.
Wow.
Old guy goes with younger woman prostitute. Who could have imagined such an exotic and surprising turn of events?
Not why they died.
No, it's not. And what about the puppet moaning at the table in the corner?
The puppet.
Mamas, I think is what he's talking about.
Oh, God.
The puppet.
You know what would give this movie like an extra half point? If Jim Henson Company had just like one random Muppet.
If it was
literally just kept going over there and it's like
puppet.
Elmo face down in a bottle of gin.
But the Muppets can't come to that demise. It's not fair.
Oh my gosh. What is the chef's mother's plot line supposed to do for us?
Well,
okay.
He wants to. Okay.
Food was good. Really? Do you have any idea what food that looks good and makes you salivate or salivating in a movie should look like? That's not the point of this.
Yeah.
Okay. Go watch Babette's Feast and then come back to me and talk about being and. Okay, this is grammatical issues, guys. Sorry.
Okay.
Then come back and talk to me about being original writer. They put and original writer.
How dare they?
Absurd because, yes. So what? I don't know Babette's Feast, but I am going to go and probably see what this is. So I'm curious to see. So I can.
I'm going to watch what they said just so I can shit on that.
Yeah,
it might be good. I don't know. I've never seen
maybe
it.
I'll love it.
It's got the name.
It might be.
The name
I am neither. Absurd.
It can't be good.
Yeah, I have a history with a Babette.
That was one of my great aunt's cats.
Oh, it was. She was a beautiful black Persian and hated
people so much.
She hated everyone, but she was gorgeous. Anyway.
Absurd because so boring. Such a huge disappointment. I had to create this account just to vent. That tells you all.
So I looked up Babette's Feast and the first, where did it go? It's basically about a banquet that brings somebody home. A glorious banquet allows Babette to give of her very best in her exile from France. So it's literally, I think they just want you to see the food at Babette's Feast, which is like a giant Thanksgiving dinner. So this person I don't think knows like what modern cuisine and like cuisine as art and gastronomy and all of that.
Yeah, and that definitely leans into like the pretension and stuff, because I like
Oh,
I
totally.
like fancy food stuff, right? And but there's it's like a bell curve. Like it gets to a point where like shit just like is so opulent and decadent, and it gets to a point for me it's pointless, where just because you can get this artistic and stuff with it doesn't mean you should. Like, it's just like, at what point?
I disagree with that.
I agree with Steph on that. I think there's a place for that. It's food as art, just like movies as art, or very like avant-garde music. This is the same thing. So people
it's not for everybody.
Right. People go to these restaurants not necessarily to feel like stuffed and like that, but it's for the chef and the chef's vision of like the tasting menu. Things like that, where it's an event.
It's not to eat, it's to taste.
Right. Did you not watch the movie?
No, what I'm saying is I fully understand that. For me, it's a bell curve. It hits this line where it like, is just no longer interesting and stuff to me. It becomes almost masturbatory. And it's just like, look, I turned this 4-course meal into fog. And it's just like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, you can like that, that's fine. But like, for me, it like, there just becomes this line. I don't think they do that in this movie. But there definitely is a course that he's doing that in, and I think he agrees with me at that point, where he's just like, yeah, fuck you, and like he's punishing his guests by not giving them bread, and stuff like that, and like I'm just like, yep.
Well, that's 100%.
And that's how I look at it. Like when you deconstruct, like when like people want to be like, oh, it's a deconstructed X, Y, and Z. And you deconstruct it to the point where like I'm literally having to crack an egg into some flour and make my own damn cake. Come on. That's
But yeah, I agree. Like, I think that you get to that line where it's no longer about eating and it's all about your experience, and it's about the taste. It's not about them getting full. It's not about the sustenance aspect. It's about the experience and the flavor profiles that you are experiencing. So this movie is not about getting full. This movie is about the entire experience, which obviously in this movie does not go well for these people, but it is a beautiful way of putting it, because the way that it's played out. And I have never been a person, like, I like watching movies and stuff, or TV shows or whatever that talks about food. I've been watching it since I was very young, but I never look at it in the same like small plate tasting aspect. I look at it on a consumption aspect. It's not that I don't appreciate the other. It's just that that's not what I am going into it looking for. So but I appreciate this movie nonetheless, because it's just beautiful. So
I do have so that was our 10 out of 10 and our 1 out of 10, but I do have a bonus review, because I found one that I found to be pretty cool. I haven't really read it. I just read the headline of it. I saw its length and I thought it was worth it. I'm not even going to give you what their actual review score is. Okay. As a restaurant owner, I just had to watch this film. Intense. You'll never be on the edge. You'll be on the edge of your seat. I opened my first restaurant here in Cleveland, Ohio, when I was 21 years old, and have been a hospitalian ever since. This film took the gripes and what is this word? Foibles of hospitality. Of hospitality workers, and turned it into a ghastly and riveting look at the fault lines of human nature and the excesses of the entitled. Brilliantly written and so intense I couldn't tear my eyes away, even in the most exorbitant moments. The many layers of backhouse references and coded gastronomical winks were a special pleasure. I'm already looking forward to watching this film a second time to catch all the nuances and that I missed on the first go around. So I thought that was awesome that there was a review from someone that is a legitimate chef, and lo and behold, Cleveland, Ohio, just a few hours from us in our home state.
I think they said everything, so we don't even have to do this anymore, do we? Like, that's the wrap up. We're done.
There we go.
But yeah, so Do you guys want to start getting into it then?
Yes,
Alrighty.
please.
Okay.
Yes.
So, we open up and we've got, I'm going to refer to these people by what I remember them by. I know it's Tyler and Margot is who we see, but you know how I am.
Mm-hmm.
So we see Tyler and Margot, Beast and Anya Taylor-Joy. So we got Beast and the Witch.
Jesus.
Beast and Allison.
Yes, Beast and Allison.
Allison.
So Beast and Allison are waiting for a boat, and Allison is smoking her cigarette and everything, and Beast is kind of giving her shit about it because, you're going to ruin your palate and all this stuff. And not Beast, Tyler, like, you're already starting to get this thing of, like, he's, like, extremely giddy about this trip that they're about to go on. And you find out that this trip is just a boat ride to another, like an island that this restaurant's at. And he explains to Margot that there's not going to be a lot of people going because it's a 12-person dinner. The dinner is extremely expensive. $12,500, I believe I heard. So that's $25,000 a couple. And we later find out that some people have been here multiple times, like an insane amount of times.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I think that already is absurd when it comes to like the food culture of, because you will hear like these really modern restaurants being in like a warehouse or a pop-up, and it's always, in some cases it can be in like these really outlandish spots or parts of buildings. So this one's like even up a tier where they have to go to an island for this lavish.
Well, this is actually based on one of the writers' actual experiences in life. Let me see, where do I have it? Somewhere here. I have so many notes for this movie, and it's insane. Nope, that's that stuff. I'm gonna cut all this out. That's all. Did you know? Casting, production. Jesus Christ. Got it here somewhere.
The Ravens won 37.
Nice. I saw a 17-3 last I checked. And this was supposed to be like a preview of what could be the Super Bowl, I heard. Fuck that.
Nice. All right.
Where is it? I know I fucking got it here. Anyway, this is legitimately like the writer went to a restaurant in Norway. That this is exactly how it went. It was a small grouping. You got on a boat, you went to an island, and that's where the restaurant was. And it was the exact same thing where you couldn't leave. You were there for, I don't think it was 4.5 hours, but it was a long time. And it wasn't until he was there that he found out, oh shit, I'm quote unquote stuck here. And so like that's definitely like this is definitely like set in reality. Like this kind of shit exists out there. But
yeah, I mean, it's that pretentious thing of being like, she's with her pretentious foodie. All these people have some kind of thing they're trying to experience here. A lot of it has to do with just they have the money to spend or blow. And so the only person I think that's even in this that's there for the food is Tyler. Like the rest of them aren't really there necessarily for the actual experience, which I liked about this. But yeah, they get on this boat and then they're eating like, some kind of
like an oyster with homemade or like manufactured caviar.
I've got all of these.
Lemon, alginate.
Yep, I've got all of that for you.
Yeah, yeah. You got what for us?
All of the meals.
Yeah, so here we go. So
yeah.
Once we get to that point, every time we hit a meal, you will get a nice pocket of information. But so we're there, waiting on the boat and everything. We start getting introduced to some of our cast and stuff. And I've got my notes that John Leguizamo has officially entered the chat. And something that I really like about his character in this is that he, to do this role and stuff, he basically was like, who do I think is a shitty actor who I can base this on? And he basically he told some reporters and stuff that he based it on Steven Seagal, whom he called a horrible human due to a particularly bad experience while working with Seagal on Executive Decision in 1996. The multiple references to Diaz playing a cook in one of his movies may be a nod to the fact that Under Siege is a Seagal film in which he played a cook.
Okay.
So he basically is just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna be Steven Seagal in this damn movie.
Well, he's like a washed-up actor, and I liked that about it. And his ass-kissing assistant's there who wants to quit her job, essentially. But I like that. But yeah, they get on this boat, and then they're going there. And when you arrive, it's gorgeous. Like, that's another thing I loved about this. And when they're walking across this boardwalk before all of this, you know, the lady's taking their names and writing them down, and they don't like that the character who played, what is it, Margot? She's not supposed to be the one that's supposed to be there. So that kind of throws a wrench into things. And I liked that because they kind of highlighted that, I guess. So you understood this was off.
Do you know why? Like, I didn't realize this until I was researching. Do you know why they didn't like the fact that Margot isn't, who do I have? Miss Westerfelt? It's because...
I wondered what was wrong. Yeah, I wondered what she had to do with it.
It's because Hawthorne does not accept substitutions.
Oh, yeah, that I knew. I was wondering what his girlfriend had to do for
that'd be
to get to go there.
Be interesting. But yeah, like, I didn't realize that. But the reason, like, the holy shit with like the staff and everything about her not being who she is that's a substitution. In this restaurant, you don't get substitutions. Like,
oh, no, you
so
don't.
that I was instantly like, okay. And then also at this point, so Elsa, who is I've got her down as maitre d', but I don't think that's correct. Is she the maitre d'? Okay. Elsa, she's the one that's taking all their names and stuff, and she's going to lead them and a few goats to the restaurant. So in the beginning of the film, the customers are led to the restaurant by Elsa and a few goats. A Judas goat is a goat used to keep cattle and other livestock calm while being led onto trucks and into slaughterhouses. This is a hint that the diners are cattle being led to the slaughter.
This is awesome.
Okay, well, they kind of lead you a little bit because, like, she shows them, doesn't take them directly to the restaurant. She takes them on like a tour of where they're going to be. And I love that because it kind of introduces you into this world without just making you sit down at a restaurant to eat. And that was my favorite part. It was when they go to the meat house and like, and they're like, we only eat the meat of dairy cows, which I thought was interesting because most meat made from steers, right? So that I found interesting. And then they age the meat Nordic smokehouse style, and that they do it for 153 days or 152 days. And they're like, what happens if you eat the meat after that? And they're like, well, I guess the flesh eating
one day early.
One day early. Yeah, that's right. Then yes, maybe it'll introduce this whatever into your bloodstream and basically you'll die. And I was just like, whoa, buddy.
And she says it with a smile on her face.
She does.
At that point, I was like, I really like her. Yeah. She's one of my favorite characters in the movie.
Yeah, because it's so just like matter of fact, like, oh, if you do that, then you'll probably introduce the bacteria into your system and it'll get into your spinal fluid and like basically just kill you instantly.
And then you'll expire.
Yeah, and I was like, damn, I'm not eating this fucking Nordic jerky.
Yeah. And then they go and visit the sleeping quarters. And that was another kind of like interesting part because it's like it's a shelter almost.
Before they got there, though, while they're on the boat getting to the place is actually when they have their first course. So a little jump back, I forgot. So what they end up having for their first course is lemon caviar served on raw oysters with mignonate, whatever that is. So The first of the menu's movie dishes is not served on the island, but is given to the guests on the way to the Hawthorne after they board the boat. As the only dish without an explanation, viewers cannot be sure what the intended meaning behind this course is meant to be. However, the menu may have hinted at chef's plan in the history in the sourness of lemons. In fact, Tyler is enthusiastic and shares an unnecessary and possibly wrong explanation of the dish. Audiences who are familiar with the dish and caught Tyler's pretentious explanation already had a clue about his interactions with the chef might go. So that's when they had their first dish. So then, they do the tour. Yeah. That's dish 1.
Yeah, but before they go on the tour, they're walking across the island and they're talking about how every single thing that they serve is from this island, and that included the oysters. So they did talk about that. So that kind of alluded to like, we served you this, but this is we pick them fresh. I think they said something about having them tonight, or you just had them, or whatever it was. And yeah, so I liked that because it was like everything is all encompassed into this. We do everything in house. We're not bringing anything in. We're making everything I just said in house, but yes, in house.
So
there we go.
By this time, they finally make it into the restaurant, the Hawthorne, and it's at this point that we start getting more of a feel of everybody. We're seeing like a couple people here, a couple people there, and I've got written down, it's just like these people, the cooks, kind of are acting and looking like cult members, because like when they show the barracks and stuff like that where they sleep and everything, it's very reminiscent of Jonestown and all that. And they also talk how they only get 4 hours of sleep, which sleep deprivation is a huge thing in cult leaders and like their indoctrinating of people and stuff. But so they only refer, in my notes they only refer to Voldemort as Chef. So Chef Voldemort.
But also if like you look at restaurant culture and like the people that work in restaurants, it's very militaristic too. So if you're not going down that cult avenue, seeing it as barracks and yes, chef, and I listen to my leader, that I think it's that like on steroids of like what a traditional kitchen would look like especially like a French kitchen, where it's very like you have your tiers of people. So I didn't pick up on that aspect of it until like doing some research.
I didn't either, because I was just like, that's how you talk when you're cooking. Like when you see stuff, especially on like food shows, that's kind of how they act. So
it's at this time that we find out that dinner is going to be 4 hours and 25 minutes each day. That's how long dinner takes, because we go through all of these courses. And we're informed that you are able to watch the cooks create, but there are no photos to be taken. What I find really interesting about this is that the entire kitchen team were trained to actually create the dishes broken down station by station, so that if at any time you look at them, they are all doing the correct things they should be doing for that dish, were it in real life and not a movie.
And Dominique, there's a Dominique Crenn is her name. She's a French chef, and she was the like consult for teaching all of these actors how to put it together.
Yeah, the lavish food layouts were
the really cool like.
Oh, you're fine. The lavish food layouts were prepared by renowned French chef Dominique Crenn, the only female chef in the United States to attain 3 Michelin stars for her restaurant in San Francisco as of 2016. Though many of the cast and crew were often tempted to taste the delicious the delicacies between takes, they had to be reminded that the food items were predominantly props and thus inedible. Because of this, though, later on in the movie there is a cheeseburger, correct? And this is like the only bit of food throughout the movie that is actually like edible food. And during all those scenes, the entire cast was getting like incredibly hungry. So John Leguizamo ended up ordering cheeseburgers and French fries for everybody on set that day to feed everybody. And I was like, man, cool guy John Leguizamo strikes again.
That's awesome.
That's funny. Yes. So, where are we at here? Well, we're sitting in our, I did not take, like, I have a lot of pages of notes on this, but my notes are not like most of the play-by-plays because I didn't feel like that was necessary with this movie. Most of the stuff I wrote down with this was just quotes, because they were just beautiful in this. And
yeah, this episode, last episode was like my beginning for like doing a lot lighter note taking instead of going play by play. So that's where it's going to be like a little more. We're not going to tell you the exact story. It's going to be kind of like by feel and everything. We're going to get there.
Yeah. And so when we walk in and they sit down, and I wrote down like all the breakdown of all of these characters, like we have the three working men and they're at their table, and then we have the washed up actor and his assistant at their table. And we have the prostitute and the pretentious foodie
we don't
at
know
their
she's a
table. That's what I have written down. Well, we do know because we know from earlier in our review that we read.
Yes, I know.
Didn't they say that in that? And then we have the food critic and her Nick called her like the ass kisser that's with her. So that's the ass kisser. And then we have mom, and then we have the husband and the wife, which there are the repeat customers.
They've been here 11 times. We find out later on, and we'll get to that scene. 11 times. That comes out to over $250,000 these motherfuckers have spent here. Jesus Christ, that's so much money. And the wife, the wife is was she from previously? Okay.
Who's the boss?
Oh.
Yeah, that's how I recognized her from that. But I didn't recognize the husband from anything.
So while they're there and everything, I believe it's Elsa is like talking to everybody and all this, and she informs somebody. It's like, we know everyone who dines with us. They basically, like, everyone that comes here and dines, we do our background checks and stuff like that. But even more so, we're kind of informed that basically at COVID time, because this takes place after COVID and it's referenced a little bit in the movie just for a time marker, from COVID time on, people weren't making reservations here as much as it seemed like the restaurant was allowing, like they were the ones reaching out, being like, inviting them in now. And that's where you start getting what is going to happen in this film, because these people didn't all accidentally show up here together. They were all invited here. They all were put on the waiting list until it was all available to get them all here for this one menu.
Okay.
So, listening to the critics do their thing makes me want to play in traffic. Every single time I listen to the food critics talk in this, the pretension is so fucking high, like, and on purpose. Like, they do it so well. Like, there are so many characters in this movie that are written to not necessarily like the I've got them as the dude bros, like your yuppie upstart three guys,
the business guys.
You're not meant to like them, and they do a fucking great job at making them unlikable. And it's not like oh, we're just gonna make them shitheads. It's just very, very nuanced. Like, it's just like, these are real people. Like, this person rubs me wrong and I don't care for this person. Same with the food critics. They're so fucking up their own ass. Well, she's up her own ass, he's up her ass, like, because he's such a parasite kind of person with it. Like, no matter what she says, he's like, oh yeah, I thought that too. Yes, oh yes. And every time I see that, like, dichotomy, or not dichotomy, the whatever, anytime that dynamic, I instantly I'm like, just kill me now. I can't fucking stand watching this shit. Even though I think they really go ahead.
I think they do a really good job of making you not like a lot of the people, like the people you're not supposed to like. I know that sounds really stupid, but you're really not supposed to like anybody in this movie if you're taking Chef's side, aside from Margot.
Yeah, the only other person I found somewhat likable was the actor Doug Leguizamo's character. I thought he was somewhat likable in this, and then and the wife with the husband. She had like some redeeming qualities, I think, in this movie. But yeah, for the majority of it, you're not supposed to like these characters. Like Elsa, you like her because she's a great actress in this movie, but she's kind of an asshole. So like, but in a great, wonderful way, like very downplayed.
Yeah.
So
Before
and her name, and that also made me laugh. So I don't know why Elsa.
Before we go on to the next dish and everything, I do have something to bring up about the last dish and how it kind of ties in with Margot's name. So the name Margot is the French diminutive of Marguerite, hence the pronunciation Margot and not Margot, which means pearl. Margot shows her appreciation for oysters, which can create pearls out of any foreign objects or obstacles. So her name is even like her character is built kind of in her name, which I think is really neat.
Okay, I would never have pulled that from that. That seems
I really
a little
don't think
far-fetched,
so. Like I think it's neat. Like she likes oysters. Her name is basically like means pearl. Pearls come from oysters, like all that stuff. Like I think that's really neat. Well, they come from clams technically. Okay. Wait, hold on.
What?
Right?
Yeah.
They came from oyster. No,
They come with oysters.
The shiny shells.
I'm not a foodie.
Yeah.
Like a real deal foodie. I'm not a brain researcher. We're figuring all this stuff out. Okay.
Oysters are the ones with like the oil and water inside of their shell. And a lot of
all I know is the only time I eat oysters is if they're fried. And that's clams. That's not even oysters. See? There.
A fried oyster. A clam is its own
I know,
thing.
but they're basically both boogers from the sea.
Oh, man. That's not wrong.
No, it's not. Okay, so let's talk about the amuse-bouche. That's our next meal.
Amuse-bouche. Which, does anybody know what that name exactly means? Because I don't believe it's in this, but amuse-bouche. So it's the first dish served to the menu cast on the island. After the dinner, guests are taken on a tour of the island and shown how all the ingredients for the menu movie dishes are harvested and presented there. Interesting, amuse-bouche is a dish that traditionally is not ordered by patrons, but instead served depending solely on the chef's selection. Therefore, with this dish, the film may be suggesting how the entire menu has been selected by Julian without the guests having any say in it. Similarly, their death at the end of the menu has been orchestrated by the chef, who at this point has not appeared in the film.
Okay.
So, what does amuse-bouche mean?
The translation is mouth amuser. But it's just a small complimentary small plate.
Mouth amuser. Those are some.
But it means mouth amuser.
I'm going to use I'm not going to use amuse-bouche in my daily stuff, but I'm going to use mouth amuser.
That's lovely.
Oh God.
All right. So let's see here. So it's at this time that the dude bros are being douchey, just like, you know, like they only care about work and money and shit like that. And John Leguizamo's assistant is talking about how she's going to be quitting and all this. So you're just kind of getting like, you're getting attack on all these people, like kind of getting to know them a little bit here and there. And you find out that Tyler basically idolizes Chef, and it's cringy as fuck. Like his idol worship of Julian, the chef, is like, I've seen these people before in my life. I think Steph's referred to them as star fuckers and stuff like that.
That's exactly what I call them.
So fucking gross. Like it's one thing to like appreciate somebody's stuff, but like that is so much.
His ignorance throughout this whole movie is just comical, though.
How so?
For how much that he loves Chef, that's all he cares about, and all of the other things that are happening around him that he's not paying attention to because he's so focused on the food.
I don't think.
Well, I think he knows all that stuff's going to happen, so he's already.
Yeah, he's already signed on. He knows how this is going to end. We later find that out and stuff. But
it's still jarring. Everyone knows it's going to happen.
But he doesn't care because he's getting what he wants.
Exactly. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. But the way that it plays out, how he just does that as like something tragic happens and he's just over there like munching on his food, like not phased at all.
That's true. It's like the shrug. Oh, something happened. Let's move on.
Right.
And then like everybody else is over here screaming and acting out. And then he's just like, what's next?
Right. Exactly. What's the next course? Does Chef like me?
Do you think he noticed me?
Yeah.
But it's at this point that we are actually finally introduced to Chef, and he shows up, and I believe he claps. That's usually kind of how he makes his entrance and talking about dishes and such. And he gives like a heartfelt speech about the menu that he has prepared and everything. I don't have it written down.
That's fine.
No, but this is my favorite thing. So I'm writing a lot of quotes from this movie, so we'll see what I have here. But the chef says there's a play with raw materials of life itself. It's art on the edge of the abyss.
The abyss.
Like, so beautiful. This is why this movie gets me every time.
So while he's giving,
okay.
Do you have more?
No, now we're at the part where we're at first course, right?
So he gives his quote and everything, and again, it fucking cuts to Tyler, and he's fucking crying. Like he's like, it's so emotional. Like it really connects with me. And they'd already been told, like, you can watch our chefs and stuff like that, just no photography, and he just doesn't fucking care. He's taking pictures of his shit and everything. Does not.
But which is weird because it's not like those photos are ever going to go anywhere.
What I was reading, because like I thought that too, is that he knows that he's not making it out of here, but he's just so fucking up fucking Chef's ass about all this stuff that he's like, I've got to document this. It's so amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But
makes sense.
And at this point, your first time watching, you're just seeing it as an asshole who doesn't know how to follow directions.
True.
He's just a self-entitled douchebag.
Right.
But it's at this point then we cut back to like John Leguizamo talking to his assistant and everything. And this is one of my favorite parts of dialogue that is just kind of throwaway dialogue, but it's probably one of my favorites. So his assistant's talking about this, like, we're going to do maybe a cooking show where you travel around and all this stuff. And he's like, just get like a picture of me like on a green Vespa, some capri pants, fake an orgasm, talk about how racism is not so cool, just fucking do all this stuff. And I'm just like, oh my God, like it's exactly like what I think of when people that you see like on show, like these like real life shows, like, well, real life, using that very loosely, but it's like, why is this guy the host of a show where they're traveling around doing this stuff? And it's literally like, it just showing, he's like, he doesn't fucking care. He's just getting a paycheck. Like, fucking, I'll just fake this, fake that, But,
it was like, I'm going to eat some cheese in Italy, fake an orgasm. Like,
I just love that fake an orgasm.
Yeah.
But, so let's see here. So it's after that they're given their first course, which is called The Island. And the various locations where the menu was filmed were crucial to establishing the island, the setting of the artistic massacre. The first course is also the first dish introduced by Chef Slovic. I always want to pronounce that W like a V, like it's Slavic. Slovic, as he would do for all succeeding dishes. From the seaweed to the fresh raw scallop, every ingredient of the dish comes from the island itself, as the name suggests. The chef is clearly inspired by nature, particularly the ocean and the entire ecosystem around them. This highlights the relevance of raw ingredients compared to the fleeting presence of human life on this island, once again foreshadowing how the menu will end.
Okay. And he also talks about how you do not eat this. You taste it, you savor it, you relish it.
I'm guilty of making these kind of claims about movies on this podcast and making these claims about music. It's like, you don't watch the movie, you experience it. Or you don't listen to a song, you listen to the album, the whole thing. You're supposed to get... So like once that shit's fucking coming up, I'm like, God damn it.
I'm guilty of saying these things about food. I see a little bit of myself in Tyler at the beginning of the movie.
The idol worship.
I am about to spit my drink all over my computer. I just took a huge drink of water, and then you're just like, I'm Tyler. I'm just like,
I've been known to talk about mouthfeel,
umami.
And the need
Are you like
for
dropping
acid.
umami? Okay.
No, I don't. Not so much. Not so much.
Not
with the
dropping
umami.
the umami. Okay. Anyway.
I do love a good mushroom.
Oh hell yeah, we're having mushrooms this week. Anyway.
Oh yeah.
We see like the old married couple. It seems like they're kind of going through the motions. Like they're at the table together, but they're not really like talking to each other as much as like, did you hear about that thing? Blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. And then we get onto our next course, which is the bread course,
This one's amazing.
Yeah, or so we
thereof.
are led to believe. It is the breadless bread plate. The second course is made up of no bread with only savory accomplishments, defined as genius by some guests but offensive to others. As Lillian Bloom, the critic, suggests in her comment, the concept of the dish is rooted in class history, which is often highlighted through the privileged diners in the menu. The first truly unusual offering amongst the menu movie dishes, this plate of sauces suggests that none of the island's guests deserve bread at all. They are not ordinary men and women, and as explained by Chef, bread and grain have always been the food of common men through history. This was the first overt clue about Chef's uncommon plans.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and it also talks about how grain represents 65% of all agriculture. And I found that very, and that makes bread the food of the common people. And so it talks about classism. And then so that's why we get the breadless bread plate. And I was like, this is a legit slap in the face and like middle finger to them. And I loved this because it was so, I don't know.
Well,
it was
some
just
people,
brilliant.
And if you didn't,
Go ahead.
oh, I was just going to jump over to something else. So
Okay.
Continue.
So the yuppie dude bro guys are like angry that they're not getting bread. Other people like Tyler and the critics are like just up his ass about like, oh, this is so great. The only person that's really kind of seeing this dish for what it is Margot at this time. She's like, no, he's he's insulting you people. Yeah, and Tyler's like, you just don't understand it. It literally is that you're not smart enough to understand. And that's where like my elitism doesn't get to that point. Like that's where the smugness comes in, because like you can see where like they legitimately think that their opinion matters and is better than others. I used to be like that when I was younger. That's not me anymore. So I'm not these people, okay? Stop it. Stop it.
I think it's worth noting when Elsa goes over to the three business guys too, how they're trying to throw around their name, like that means something, and just how she's just standing there like, no, you can't.
Well,
like, it doesn't matter.
And she leans in to their ear and says, you'll eat less than you desire and more than you deserve. And
I love that line.
That's a fucking great line.
It's so good.
Like they're like bitching about it and all this stuff, and she just leans into their ear very softly. Like I had to rewind it to get it worded properly and everything, because I was like, damn, that's a damn good line. Elsa's got a heart of ice.
She does. And Tyler in this also says that Chef isn't just a chef, he is a storyteller. And so like that's how he justifies the breadless bread plate. And I love this because Margot's character, Chef comes over to their table and is wondering why she's not eating, and she is refusing to eat the breadless bread plate because she's not buying into their bullshit. And I love that this is her like putting her foot down. It's like, you guys can be fools, but I'm not not a fool. And I really like that about her character because she doesn't go with everybody else. It's like everybody else is there and they're just like, okay, we'll do this because you said so. And she's like, nah, I'm not doing this.
Says, you get no bread, and Steph won't stand for this because you love bread.
Oh, bread. I'm a peasant. I love me some bread.
But like while they're getting all this stuff, like, you know, the critics are like, yeah, blah blah blah. But then she still is able to like, do you think this emulsion's broken? And then the suck ass is just kind of like, no, yes, I was thinking so as well. Blah blah blah. And I'm just they're just fucking like, oh well, critique, like fucking people. And
but when he brings out that bowl of emulsion, like, here you go, here's your broken emulsion. And then it was like this big eye-opening moment. And it happens twice in the
Elsa
movie.
comes with the big fucking thing and just goes, Miss Bloom, here's another broken emulsion for you, courtesy of Chef.
Yeah.
And it's a fucking massive bowl. It's like a popcorn dish full of this emulsion that's broken. So it makes you wonder, like, if it's that thought out, did he make it broken on purpose? For her to fucking snoot her nose up, knowing that she's going to take that bait, that he's just going to be like, I'm going to fucking rub your nose in it, bitch.
Right. I have that thought throughout this whole movie. How much is specifically curated, and then what parts might be because of what's happening? Because of Margot being there.
Yeah. Well, I think she flusters him.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if part of like the fuck ups or the change in the storyline, because he'll come out and be like, yeah, this wasn't planned for or whatever. I wonder if part of that is because of her being there, and he's just like up in arms, like, oh shit, this is the substitution we don't allow.
Because everything about this is like, this is a perfectly oiled machine. And that's why the substitution stuff doesn't work. It's like, no, like, and I don't want to say guilty of this, but like there was a point in my life where I basically was just like, when I order something, wherever it is, I'm going to order it as is because I want to eat it the way that it's supposed to be, because then I can base my opinion on if it's good or not. Because if I remove something, it's like, I was missing something. It might have very well been that thing that I said that I didn't want in it. You know, so, but, it's at this time that, you know, she's not eating and everything, and Tyler's like, well, fuck, I'll eat your leftovers. He reaches over, breaks the glass. The chef comes over and is pissed that Margot hasn't been eating, and he says, like, the menu only makes sense if you eat. Like, he's very, very intense about, like, no, like, it's only, I have a reason that I'm doing this, and if you're not going to play along, you're going to ruin my fun.
Yeah.
But Margot is a strong, independent woman, and she will not back down. She's like, no, fuck this. I believe this is the point where the other maitre d', I guess, comes and pours them some glasses of wine from this place and everything. And I love this. It has, you know, it's got notes of this, notes of that, and a sense of longing and regret. And that fucking kills me. I would like to have a drink that has the taste of longing and regret sometimes.
And at that point, if you didn't know it was supposed to have some humor in it, that gives you a really good tell.
Like, it's like there's a lot of that kind of stuff, because these are things that people probably use as descriptive notes about stuff like that it's so pretentious. Like, there's no way to understand what that means. But so we cut back a little bit and we see like the wife keeps the older wife, the older couple, the wife is just like, that girl, and she's referring to Margot, like, she keeps looking over here and she looks vaguely familiar, like, and the husband's like, no, I don't know, it must be in your head or whatever. And then we get our next dish showing up, which is, she
said that she looks like Claire,
their daughter.
So like, yeah, so not just like vaguely familiar, somebody that they know.
So we get our third course now, and Julian calls this course memory. In this speech, Chef recalls when he used to eat tacos with his family. Oh my God, are you okay?
Sorry, I just hit the laptop. We're good.
Tasha's entire world just crumbled. All right. So In his speech, Chef recalls when he used to eat tacos with his family on Tuesdays. One night when his father came home drunk and hurt his mother, Julian stopped by stabbing him with scissors in the thigh. This explains why the dish is served with a small pair of scissors in the chicken. Julian also mentions that this is a dish he has made since the beginning of his career as a chef. However, as with every one of the Menu's movie dishes, these tasty tacos come with a dark twist. As the ending of the Menu approaches, things start to get weird. The guests soon find out that the tacos contain personal and sometimes compromising pictures or documents of each guest. As such, the tacos expose the guests' secrets, like Richard cheating on his wife. Hilariously, Tyler's photos were of him taking pictures during the dinner. Not only that, but the personalized tacos also subtly reveal why Julian had chosen these specific guests. The food critic Lillian, for example, has caused many restaurants to close with their picture shown on her tacos. They all represent why Julian has lost his love for his craft. Another thing, though, that I found is the chicken, I believe, is like, you've got the scissors stabbed in it. I believe the chicken's tied a little bit. That is phone cord. The same thing that the father was strangling Julian's mother with in the story.
Oh, I missed that.
I read that somewhere that it was so the scissors and the phone cord are all there in this meal.
Oh. Yeah, I only picked up on where he was like, and I stabbed him in the thigh as they're stabbing tiny scissors into chicken
Yeah, and he
thigh.
says, and I should have stabbed him in the throat, kind of like, ha, ha, ha. Another thing that's kind of neat, though, is after, when making this movie, the director basically was like, you can, as long as we get our shot, how I want it, you guys can ad-lib a little bit or whatever. And one of those ad-libs that stayed in the movie is Julian going Taco Tuesday, like that whole little bit or whatever. that was just kind of ad-libbed by Fiennes, and he's just like, you know what? Yeah, I like that. Steph, we can't hear you. No. Nope. Now you're muted. There you go.
Muted. Oh, that was weird. Yep. I don't know what happened. Yeah, I like this part in the movie because it basically showing everybody's ass, but literally on tortillas.
Yeah, because
it's just brilliant. I love it so much. And the wire transfers and the fake charges on the Dude Bros table. I was like, they were fucking livid by this. And then they're like, my favorites are sitting there and they're like, well, we work for this guy and it's okay, right? Because he owns the island and he's the silent investor for this place, and so they're talking how they're bullshit that they've been pulling with money. It's it's fine, he can't do anything, he's in it with us, ha 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 ha, that's funny, he's part of this too. And I was like, stupid motherfuckers.
It has a lot to do with how they see themselves with that person opposed to what it actually is, because it's we work with him, and they're like, no, you work for him, so they're embezzling money from him and everything.
But if you look at this, though, this is something I just kind of pulled up. So every single person that's visiting there, for the most part, not every single one, believes they have a relationship with that place to some degree, because the guys that are sitting at the table have the relationship by working for the same guy or being under the same umbrella. We have John Leguizamo's character who says that he knows him, and that's why they're there. And so the assistant just assumes that. Then you have Mr. Yuppie himself, Tyler, who's just absolutely obsessed with him. So he has this fawning thing, oh, he wants to know me, he whatever, and I've been waiting so long to be here. And then you have the food critic who obviously is well, he obviously cares, and I obviously care because he wants me here to see his stuff because this is all for me, the ego of it. And then the people that were invited back again for the 11th time obviously have some kind of relationship built. So like there is this constant relationship with all of these characters in their own way. And obviously it feeds into the ego part of this storyline. And I like that because it's not like we're walking into something where these people are like blind. It's like they have some tie to it.
And to add to the pride, the critic said, like when the taco thing comes out, that's what put him on the map. And she's the one that said that in her review.
Yeah,
there you go.
That thing that like I fucking hate with critics and stuff is that they think that like certain critics, not all critics, but like this is this one in particular, that they think that the only reason that this person is famous is because of their review. It's not that their accomplishments are their own, that I put them on the pedestal, and because of my yes or no, they became what they are now. So basically just aping off of their accomplishments are my accomplishments, and I fucking hate that.
And I don't know if either of you noticed, but at some point she's also smoking. So her description of what she's eating isn't even accurate because that was brought up at the beginning from Tyler. So she's true. Not even like a good critic because she's not fully experiencing stuff too.
Yeah. Well, and then when we get to the part, so we get all this going on and we see, this one made me laugh really hard. This was the best part, is Calling Dr. Sunshine is on John Leguizamo's, his tortilla. And I was just like, of all the things that you could have put on somebody's like engraved on their tortilla, that is what you decided. Like brilliance, like so stupid but funny. And then the story we get later is why, but it's the best. It's so
legit the most petty of everything.
Yeah.
And I'm here for that pettiness.
Oh, it's great. And then, well, of course, this is okay. So Margot has an issue with the bread plate, right? So she's like, fuck this. I'm not eating this. And so Chef, kind of chides her. Then you come back and then she sees this going on and him taking the pictures. And she's like, he can't take pictures of you without your permission. And because he put Tyler's pictures on pictures of him taking pictures on his. And she's just like pissed about this. And Tyler obviously is like, oh, this is fine. I just love this. This is great. And he starts calling her a child because she doesn't get it. And like, there it goes with the ego again. And he starts talking to shit to her for wanting to send her food back because she's not partaking in this bullshit. So we have two different sets here back to back where she's just like, I'm not playing this game, assholes. Like, I'm not doing this. And she decides she's going to get up and go to the bathroom. And I love this part because the bathroom, like she goes down, she sees a door and she's like, what's behind that door? And they're like, something important, like, but that's what we're alluded to. And she goes into this beautiful bathroom and she just like steps up on a toilet, flips the thing. And you see this guy walking with these wings in the background. And she's just like up there smoking, like, fuck this. I ain't dealing with this. And Chef comes in, which she doesn't think it's him. But I love this because it's like, she really is a thorn in his side. Like she is foiling his plans and he's offended that she doesn't want to eat his food. And he asks who she is while we're in here. And she says, I'm Margot. And he says, you shouldn't be here tonight because he doesn't believe her. And I like that he just keeps calling her on her shit.
Is this also the time where... No, it's not. Never mind. But going back just a little bit to what you're talking about when you're talking about John Leguizamo and the Calling Dr. Sunshine thing. John Leguizamo wasn't the original person that this was written for, this role. I really wish that this would have happened because we've got Voldemort as our chef. Our movie star was written for Daniel Radcliffe, Harry Potter.
Nice.
Okay, I could kind of see that, but I like this play better. I think.
But there's like,
do we know why he didn't take it?
I believe it said there's two people that were originally cast for this movie that because of other obligations they weren't able to. So Daniel Radcliffe was going to be the movie star, and they were going to reference a movie that he was actually in called Victor Frankenstein, I guess, that came out in 2015. And that was going to be like the big flop movie or whatever. And then Margot's character was originally, and she was signed on, but because of other reasons, she had to leave. It was Emma Stone. Emma Stone was going to be playing Margot's character, which I like Emma Stone, but in this movie, I think there is no better person to play the role of Margot than Anya Taylor-Joy. She embodies this character perfectly.
She does. I agree. If I watched it with Emma Stone, I think I would have been kind of, I don't know. I just can't see it in my head. Just like I can't really see Mr. Harry Potter going against Voldemort sitting in a menu.
The meta thing of that would have been so great. I would have loved that.
Oh my gosh. I think that would take away from the enjoyment of the movie and what it represents because you're too busy thinking about that.
What if Emma Watson played Margot?
Now that would be too much. That's crossing a line.
We're not doing that.
That'd be
too much.
No, we're not having a family reunion here from Harry Potter.
Oh, fine.
Okay, so fourth course.
So fourth course. Let's see what we got here. Oh,
I have so much to talk about after this. Tell me. Okay, what's the fourth course, honey?
My phone's being a dick.
Dun dun dun.
Fourth course, the mess. Jeremy is Julian sous chef who serves a key purpose in one of the menu's movie dishes. Indeed, the fourth course starts with Jeremy shooting himself. He will never be good enough to be at chef's level, as explained by Julian in his speech. After his body is taken away, the guests are served pressure-cooked vegetables, roasted filet, potato confit, beef just, and bone marrow. During this course...
Beef jus?
Sure, beef jus. Is it spelled the same?
J-U-S
it's J-U-S-T, what I'm reading.
It's French.
Well, yeah, I get that, but what I'm reading just says beef just.
Okay.
Anyway.
Okay.
Just, that's a typo.
Beef jus and bone marrow. During this course, the menu quickly takes a darker horror turn, which is soon followed by Richard's finger being cut off. The meaning of the mess is simple and clear. The pursuit of culinary perfection to please strangers puts chefs under tremendous, sometimes lethal pressure.
Yeah, this scene is the scene. Like, this is where you build up to the storyline and you're like, maybe something's not gonna be so bad, and then this happens, and this is building the intensity. And I love it when he's like talking to him, he's like, you're good, but you're not great. And he's talking to Jeremy, who created this meal, and he kisses him on the cheeks, and the guy just pulls a gun out, puts it in his mouth, and blows his own brains out. Like, when I first saw this movie, my mouth about hit the fucking floor. And I was like, did they just do that in this movie? Like, we had no preamble for this. This is just legitimate, like, suicide in front of everybody. And I mean, you can see the character like getting choked up, and he's a little finicky, and you don't know if he's just nervous because he's like put on the spotlight. But then like this happens.
How Julian is talking to him is that like, you're good, but you'll never be as good as me. And it's not even in like a boastful way. He's just saying basically how I look at it when he's talking about that specifically is like, I've had certain things happen to me in my life that have gotten me to this point, and those were luck or flukes or whatever, and you'll never get to be me. And then he even says like, are you envious of my life? Do you want my life? Do you want my career? And that's when Jeremy's like, no, I don't want it. And he's just like, take it away. And then boom, one foul swoop. And
then everybody is like freaking out. But so I watched the movie the first time, and my mouth hit the floor, and I was like, did that just fucking happen? And then last night, we're sitting in the living room with Maya, and she hasn't seen this movie, so we're watching her. She's watching this, and she loses her shit, and she was like, "Oh my god!" So then today, I just happened to be upstairs when everybody else was watching the scene again, so I got to see it again. And Wesley was in there, and Jet was in there, and Noelle, I think, had already seen it. So like all these kids are sitting in our living room, and Maya, of course, already saw it last night. So we're sitting in there, and Wesley's eyes are humongous, like what just happened? Jet's face is like hitting the floor. He's like, that did not just happen. And I was like, I knew it. Like, this is the moment of that movie that kind of just punches you really hard and kind of sets down this course that is completely different than what we've kind of been on. And I absolutely love that, because it jolts you.
It's where the movie takes its swerve. Everything up till now, it's just like a drama, like a weird, like dramedy almost. It's like, haha, but there's like a little tension, but whatever. And then this is like, boom, first act's over. We're in second act and shit's about to get real. And so
and then the husband, he's like, I'm going to leave, or he's trying to get out of there for his wife, because everybody's freaking out. And I love this part too. He's like, I'm going to do something. Like he's going to do something. And she's like, which hand?
Elsa.
The maitre d', Elsa. She's like, so like she's surrounded by these big dudes with knives, basically just like support her. And the older man is like, what? And she's like, which hand are you going to do something with? And he's just kind of like, what again? And she's like, pick a hand. And he doesn't pick a hand. And she's like, left hand, ring finger. And they literally put his hand down and they fucking cut his finger off. Like right there. And the ring falls to the ground and his wife gets on the ground and picks the bloodied ring up. And I just thought that was just so smart. Like, he's been a cheater. We've confirmed it with the tortillas.
Confirmed it with tortillas.
We did. And I just, it's so good. And then after this happens, then Chef wants to see Margot, and he wants to know if she's with us, like with them, as in like the chef and his crew, or he's with the rest of them. Like, he's giving her a choice because she doesn't belong there. And I loved this part. Like, they're talking, and I think it was in the kitchen at this time. And so she's talking to him and he's like, we're all going to die tonight. And I'm just like, what?
And while all that's going on, the critic and all these people, like the people that are up his ass, so like the critic and stuff, are like, no, that's not real. This is all just theater. Like he's putting on.
Yeah. As they're carrying away the dead body wrapped in
body.
And it's just like, they're just like, it's part of the menu. And it's at this point, I think Chef just is like, eat, like just yells out like to him to like commands that they do that. And
while he talks to what's her name. And then my favorite part is, do you die with those who give or die with those who take? Yep. You need to pick. I was like, that was powerful.
He basically, like, I don't know if I'm paraphrasing or anything, but he basically uses the whole idea of like, I know a shit shoveler when I see one. Like, we're the shit shovelers. They're the shitters. Which are you? You know?
Yep. Well, it's like we're the ones that are serving people and they're taking advantage of us. Or are you the server, or are you them? And like, he's definitely he just keeps kind of like hitting her with that over and over and over again, because he's trying to figure her out, I think. And so like he's pushing her buttons and like his own way, trying to figure her out and to get her to make a choice, because I think this, like I said, this makes him uncomfortable that she's there.
Because he says it was, and this whole menu was painstakingly put together and she was not part of it, and because she's part of it, this is not my plan, this is not what I want.
Well, it kind of makes you feel like he's having a hit of like more remorse for it, like the decision he's making, because he has a moral thing, because like this was fine.
Correct,
if you weren't here, but you are here,
because
and
all of the patrons are being punished for things that have involved him in some way or another, and then the staff, they're not being punished, they are basically dying for the cause, as it were, to finish the menu, you know, like to do this.
It's for the art. It's to have their art basically, you know, written in history or whatever. That's that concept or whatever. So
it's at this point that we get the palate cleanser, which is wild bergamot and red clover tea. So tea is not only a good palate cleanser, but is also a calming drink, which makes sense for it coming after the mess. It may be the most normal of the menu's dishes, but this is only to ensure that the guests remain calm for the next part, even after witnessing Julian no, not Julian, Jeremy. Even after witnessing Jeremy shoot himself, during this dish, Julian offers his guests a chance to ask him questions, as the tea represents the last moment of the calm before the storm. And in this case, he explains that the guests represent ingredients to a bigger concept, foreshadowing the end of the menu and the chef's intention of killing everybody. He explains why he despises every single one of them. This is when we find out why John Leguizamo's character is here.
And that one's the one that's just what?
You know, I've been Julian in this point where basically he's talking about, like, you know, it was a Sunday. It was my first day off in months. And I went and saw this movie called Calling Dr. Sunshine, and it was fucking horrible. Like, that's the reason he's here. He's going to kill him because he ruined his one day off.
Wasted my time.
Yeah.
Yep. And he calls Miss Bloom she damages livelihoods, and Phil's the enabler, which is her assistant. Mm-hmm. He tells him, you enable her, like her poor behavior. And I love that. I like that he calls all of them out, so they're not questioning why they're there.
My favorite was the married couple when he draws attention to them, like, you've been here 11 times, name one thing you've eaten. So right there, it's showing that they're not there for the experience. They're not there to appreciate what he's made. It's purely out of abundance.
Yeah, they're just like, well, I guess we can go do that again. I guess we can spend $25,000 on a meal again. And
I feel like it was $1,200, not $12,000.
Okay, maybe that's right then.
I mean, either way, it's still a lot of money.
Still too much goddamn money for this. But yeah, because like he's like, just name one thing, and she's like, trout. We had cod. We had cod. And he's comes up and is like, oh, it was cod. He's like, cod? It was spotted trout, you donkey.
It was halibut, but yeah.
Bitch, I'm with them. I don't fucking care.
No, yeah. Well, and during all of this, the dude bros are trying to break out through the glass that's not breakable. And this lady is such a good actress. The lady who plays Elsa, she comes over him and she just like lightly escorts him back to his table. Like, sir, please sit down.
Let me help you with your chair. And she like picks up the chair and just walks it back to the table.
Yeah. And also during all of this, like, he's also talking about Tyler's character, and Tyler's like, I could taste the bergamot in the tea, and like, I'm just like, and
the look on Chef's face is hilarious.
There's all this shit going on, and like the one question he asks Chef is it bergamot, and fucking Julian's just like, yes, yeah, it's fucking is.
What?
And that's what I'm telling you, like his complete lack of like seeing what's happening. It's hilarious. Mm-hmm. Between him, like, just like going at it with the bone marrow course, and then drinking the tea and be like, I'm gonna try to impress you, chef. When all this other, like, what the fuck is happening?
Well, it's also at this time that the chef refers to them as they are all ingredients in the menu. Like, all of you are ingredients in my menu.
Yeah. And that's why I figured he was so frazzled by Margot, was because everything was meticulously planned and she wasn't supposed to be there. I didn't pick up on, like, what you were saying, Steph, about how there might be like a sense of morality with her being there, like he not wanting her to like be a part of it. I saw it as like kind of a controlling characteristic of, you're not supposed to be here. Now what am I supposed to do with you? Versus, you're not supposed to be here. I don't want you to succumb to what's going to happen.
I believe that too in the beginning, but since I've watched it, I think that I do see the morality part, because the way he treats her, and he consistently goes back to her over and over again to converse with her throughout the whole movie, that he treats her like she's the conundrum she is, but he doesn't treat her poorly. Like, realistically, he's just talking to her, trying to figure her out. And the conversation they have later on in his office really kind of hits that home for me. I
think he kind of sees a little bit of himself in her is a big thing.
Oh yeah, he mentioned that.
Yeah. So, but my other part was, so during all of this, we're talking about the regulars and the angel investor.
Doug Varick.
this was, oh my God, this is so smart.
Doug Varick
and
is the investor that owns this island and everything. And it's the one that the dude bros work for, not with.
Yes. And they hang him up outside, like highlighting him over the water with wings. And he's hanging. We don't see what he's hanging from. I'm guessing like it's a crane of some sort. I don't really know. So yes, and he's just there, and I think he is like tied up essentially, and everybody's like watching this as it ascends into the water, and the chef is kind of like, don't talk, like just let me watch. Like it's almost like he's enjoying the scene, and this guy just starts lowering into the water, and he drowns and he dies, and then this is when like the chef's talking about there are no substitutions. That's all my notes say, but there was something about substitutions
when this is happening, and so he's not watching it. His back is kind of turned to it. His eyes are closed, like he's listening to a symphony, and he's picking things out because he says, "Listen, listen." And then as Doug like goes under, he's not even watching. He's just like, under he goes.
Yep, he's like, hearing it. Yeah.
You hear that silence? I'm free.
Okay, that makes more sense now. Okay, I just know that this scene was like him enjoying what is coming to fruition. Like he's severing these ties by literally murdering a man and drowning him to death, which again, kind of dark and twisty, but kind of also awesome. And so,
and I saw it as he once again didn't appreciate what the chef made, because didn't he mention at one point, that's where like the no substitutions come from. Like he would come to my restaurant, he would want something off the menu that was like different. He didn't want what I made him, and he would always do substitutions. Yep. So I see this part as hilarious because he's just like pounding on the glass, like, we don't make substitutions.
Yes.
And I get that.
That's
like
true.
when you are at the level that Julian is and stuff, you're going to get what they make. Like it's not that you're going like, oh, I'm going to go get the tacos or whatever. Like the point is like, this guy's supposed to be a great chef. Like that's why he's getting paid what he's getting paid and why he's got all these accolades and stuff. Like he's going to make what he wants, and it's going to be fucking amazing. And to just Doug Varick is just like, I don't fucking care, just make me what I want. And it's just really a shitty way. Like, why even bother having this guy here? Like, you're squandering his talents and stuff like that. And it's just showing more and more how Julian is becoming disillusioned by his own fame, by his own talents, all this stuff. And he has lost his love.
He's lost his love. I think that what's really happening here is that people are robbing him of his art form by trying to change him and not allowing him to embrace what he really wants. So he's no longer getting joy out of this because people aren't appreciating his art for what it is. And therefore he is becoming cynical over it because he's like, I want to do this thing. I make this art for other people to enjoy, but people are fucking dickbags. They're not enjoying it. Therefore I am losing my joy in creating for people. And then those same motherfuckers want to come in and tell me how I'm supposed to create. This is a perfect explanation for literally anybody who does art for a living.
He even says that he tries to please those who can't be pleased.
Yes. And I think that's the point of it. So instead of him, at this point, he's lost his joy because there's no, like, he obviously likes to do what he does, but at the same time, he's creating it for an audience. Like, it's not just for himself, and he's not getting anything out of it anymore because people are ruining this experience for him by trying to A, not appreciate him, and 2, controlling him. And I feel that so hard sometimes because of my job. So I get it. And I think that's why I resonate with this movie so much, even though I would never want to murder a bunch of people. But this is, that's why I like this a lot. I thought it would hit for most people who could understand what he's going through emotionally, but just being an artist.
So it's at this point that Margot goes to Chef's quarters, and this is when Chef is asking, so have you made your decision? Are you part of the staff? Are you part of the shitty, like the shitty elite that are out there? He calls them the shit shovelers. Yeah, like that's where it is. So he does actually use that.
Yep. Yeah. And then they're sitting there and they're talking, and he's like, the guy that's in there, and this is I know.
Yeah.
Can you hear them?
Can we?
I can.
What's that? Can you hear them?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'll go take care of it.
All
You
right.
tell the story.
It's
Gonna be ugly. I'm just warning you now.
It's all right fucking above my head.
Oh.
And we had a very specific conversation that this is not going to fucking happen. And I can hear multiple people. It doesn't sound like it's just one person.
Oh.
So we'll just wait because I can cut all this.
Okay. I know how to turn this down.
What are you trying to turn down?
My light. I have a ring light camera.
Oh, okay. Is it too bright? Is that your problem?
Yeah, like I feel very washed out. As the sun goes
Well,
down.
are you using white light or warm?
White.
You don't use white.
This is the other option.
Is the ring? Can you lay something over the ring that won't block the camera?
No.
Because that's what you need. You just need to diffuse it a bit.
Need to sit back further.
All right. Are they murdered? They properly murdered?
I walked up there and first thing I said, do you want to die now or do you want to die later? And they were like,
Of course
what?
what?
And I'm like, yeah, what are you doing? Well, what? Yeah, you're running through the fucking house, dudes. Like, let's not do this. We had this conversation. Oh, okay.
I was gonna say I could tell like that it was so fucking noticeable. Like I could tell it was more than one person. It was just like the dogs and multiple people, and I was just like, what the fuck is going on? It'd been happening through the recording, and I could tell it was like one, and it's like, okay, fucking chill. But this was just like a cavalcade going. I'm like, are you fucking serious?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah, so we'll start from the shit stirs, and then this is when we find out that Margot is a sex worker and has that's how she knows the old man and everything.
well, and she doesn't want to talk about it because he was like, oh, it's something bad, right? And she's like, no. She's like, she just is very matter of fact. She's like, no, he just wanted me to like something about masturbating while I sat there. But the really weird part about it was that he wanted me to tell him he was a good dad because she looks like his daughter.
Yeah.
Like creep factor times 1,000. Like, it's one thing to have a guy masturbate in front of you. It's another thing to,
God knows I've
So
had my
weird.
fair share of men masturbating in front of me.
That's nice to know. Thank you for sharing.
This has been my TED Talk. That's it. That's it. Welcome to my TED Talk. Yeah. So, my notes get kind of strange here, so I'm just gonna start reading them and you jump in. My next line is, "Mom got that wine," because mom is at this point just
Oh, she pours a big glass of wine, and then they cut to them basically going outside for the next course, which is ran by, it looks like Catherine Keller. Is that her name? Catherine
Yeah,
Keller?
she's another sous chef.
Yep.
Yes. And this is her telling her story on how our chef tried to get with her and then treated her like dog shit when she basically rebuffed his advances, or however you want to say it. She didn't want to do him, and he was not happy about that. And this was called I love this. This is so fun. The name of this course is called The Man's Folly. And she basically, chef is like understanding that he was shitty behavior, and she takes a knife and stabs him in the leg. Or I mean,
It's kitchen shears.
Sorry. It's kitchen shears. That's right. So it's very similar to what he did to his
It's the same.
dad.
It's in taco night tacos. It's the exact same scissors.
Yep. Yep. So she stabs him in the leg with it, and he apologizes to her for his
Yep.
indiscretion.
So Man's Folly, which is Dungeness crab, umboshi, yogurt whey, and kelp. For the 6th of the menu's movie dishes, everybody is invited to leave the restaurant and step outside on the island. This dish is not introduced by Chef Julian, but our sous chef, Catherine. In her speech, she recalls how what you said, his advances and stuff.
Yeah.
As for the course itself, it's called Man's Folly and is only served to the women. As the female guests are led back into the restaurant, the men are given the opportunity to escape, showing how willing they are to run away and selfishly abandon their close friends, bosses, or significant others. At their tables, from the Dungeness crab to the fermented yogurt, the women feast on the representation of the pretentious insecurities of toxic men. Made with mostly ingredients from the sea, it also symbolizes the futility of trying to escape. As these men go running off into the woods and stuff and are given like a 45-second head start, most of them run off except for Tyler. Tyler's just like hanging out with the women. And it's like,
He's like, I want to see what
they're
happens.
like, no, you go as well. And he's like, oh, okay. And he just kind of walks off. You never see him get captured because I'm pretty sure like they just got him and he comes back. The ass sucker of the critic though is the last one found. And he's given like this like egg dish because he's also found in a hen house.
And
I love how the window just comes down with a hand.
Yep, and it's Elsa.
Yeah.
I believe it's Elsa again. She like, no.
No, I don't know. I think it was somebody else. It was a guy. Because the guys were the ones that were chasing the guys.
But Nick, I think you're right. Tyler doesn't go far because you see him like peering in the window while the women are eating.
Oh,
Do you
no,
guys
I
didn't
catch
see
that?
No.
Yeah.
No.
It cuts to a window of him just like looking through.
Well, at the end, when he's talking to Margot, he's like, "What did you have?" Like he's just wants to eat all the foods. But so these women are sitting around this table, and I love this. Like, you think it's gonna be like this kumbaya feel because they're like these women just hanging out, but then the critic lady is like, "This is so good," because it's the sous chef,
Her dish,
her creation. Her dish. And so she's trying to like ass kiss, trying to say like, well, maybe she'll let me go. Maybe, I can get you a restaurant. I can do all of these things. And we just
have to get rid of the killing everybody at the end part.
Right.
And that's when the sous chef is like, that was my idea.
Yeah, it doesn't work if you all live, is what she says. And I was just like, holy shit, this lady's dark. But what's better about this is that when this critic starts giving her like basically patting her on the back for her mastery in the kitchen, she gets teared up and like has to have a moment to herself. And then all the other women are like, yeah, it's great, so good. And they're like egging, like it's almost like this weird like women in a fucked up way, uplifting other women in a very shitty situation while the guys are outside running from other men. And it's like getting caught in the water trying to get away. And like they're all coming back all fucked up. And like and John Leguizamo's character, when he comes back inside and he was like, oh, I failed, I tried. He's just huffing and puffing. And I was like, this is so good. I like this scene a lot. It was interesting.
One of the dude bros has commandeered like a little like digging raft kind of thing. They fucking hunt him down or dragging him onto shore. So he's like, no.
And this is also when we find out that Margot's name isn't really Margot. Her name is Erin.
But so then all the men are ushered back into the restaurant and everything. And this is when Chef walks up to Tyler and asks, why are you here? And Tyler says, I want to experience your food. And this is when Julian kind of lets the cat out of the bag a little bit here. Margot's sitting at the table. Well, Erin, we'll call her Margot though. Margot's sitting at the table there with Tyler and says like, well, you knew that everyone was going to die at the end of this. And Margot's like, what? Like, what the fuck? And
that's not exactly how it happened. She climbs across the table and punches him in the face.
I was getting to that, but like you get this like what? And he's like, and then this scene wasn't actually written in the script of her crawling over the table and punching him in the mouth. That was Anya Taylor-Joy saying like, this is what would fucking happen, and she's right.
Right.
That's true. That's what I would have done. That's true. Like he sentenced her to death because of his ego, and he wanted to experience this with this chef. And the chef tells him like, he gave Tyler access to his world. And like, over these months, basically knowing this, leading up to this. So it's not like he just randomly found out. Like, he's known this for an extensive period of time, so he could have direct access into the chef's world. Like, he's been sharing the menu with him from what it sounded like. He's been sharing all these things with him. And that in itself is very eerie.
I think the most evil person in this movie is Tyler, because he is the only one. He's the only one that knows how this is all going to play out, and
besides the other cooks.
But like, he's the only patron that knows how this is all going to play out. And instead of showing up on his own and being seen in the chef's eyes as like, oh, your girlfriend dumped you or whatever, he takes it upon himself to get a hold of a sex worker and basically just be like, you're exposable, like, or disposable. We can just bring you and it doesn't fucking matter. And
he had to have somebody else. Chef doesn't do tables of one.
Okay.
That's what he says. So it's not so much about like an ego thing as it is like,
I missed that.
If he wanted to come, he had to have somebody. So he picked a sex worker. His girlfriend broke up with him, I'm assuming because he maybe spilled the beans or whatever.
That's a good reason to dump somebody.
But yeah, I agree. But yeah, he had to bring her along to come.
He should have brought his like a friend. Like, it's so. It just deplorable.
Shows how bad of a person he is, because he sees her as, like you said, disposable.
Mm-hmm. I did the same fucking thing.
Well, and so then the other part is like, he's standing there and he's like, cooks belong in the kitchen. Like, he's like ramping up Tyler's character. Like,
you notice the bergamot
in this,
like, oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You notice the bergamot. You've been talking to me for all these months. I've let you into my world. And he's like, let's see what you can do. And Chef is kind of like condescending to him in like a low key way.
No, he's straight up. This is a cat playing with his food.
Mm-hmm.
It is, but it's not in that like diabolical way, in the sense like it's in your face. Like Tyler, but nobody else is picking up on it. At least in my opinion,
because he's so delusional.
Definitely not.
Everybody else knows exactly. Like, he is fucking like so like, oh yeah, like, let's just get this chef's jacket out for you, and like the way he's approaching. Oh yes.
My favorite is he puts a chef's jacket on and he brings out the marker and makes it like this big show, and he's like writing his name on the white chef's jacket, Tyler, and like, print words, and like, and then the mom from her corner is like, handsome boy. And I was like, oh my God. And
this is where Julian's just like, just looks him straight in the face. Is like, cook. He's like, what? And he's like, you're a cook. He's like, okay. And he's just like basically cracking that whip, and he's like, you're just gonna show us what's up. Let's, you know all this shit, like, fucking gather around. Like, gathers around all the crew, everything. All right, we'll help. You're the chef, we're your sous chefs, tell us what you want. And this is so and like, I couldn't imagine being in this, but he's just like, shit, and Julian's like, shit, do you want some shit? Is that what you need for your dish?
And when he's commenting on how he's chopping the shallots, the shallots, be a new way that I haven't seen.
Yes, Tyler is previewing this long lost way of chopping shallots that we just have not been witness to before.
Right.
Well, he cuts leeks first, right? And then he's like cutting these shallots. Doesn't even take the outside skin off. It's insanity.
Wash the leeks. They're full of sand. Like, it's gonna be a mess.
And then he like, was it lamb? And he just like throws it into a pan, and then it's like, it's done.
Because he's like, is it done? Or, I can't even remember exactly how it is, but he's just like, I think it's done. He's like, you think it's done? He's just like, you, as a chef, it's done. Like, it's one of those things. He's like, I think it's done. It's like, oh, great.
Yeah. This was the hardest part, honestly, in the movie to watch. And that sounds weird considering everything that happens. It's not mine because it makes me highly uncomfortable. I feel his discomfort in this. And I think that's why it's so well acted and it is so good in the movie. But I physically am just cringing just thinking about this going on in somebody's life, and he deserves it. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
Like, this
I'm on
is
the other side of
deserving.
the fence. I'm like, I wish I could put somebody through this that fucking poses this, like, just talks out their ass all the time. So you get to see Julian actually impose. It's like, okay, it's put up or shut up time. Show like step up or shut up kind of thing.
Yeah.
And like where I said I see myself in Tyler, I definitely don't go that
no, this
far
is you.
to where like I think I'm as good as a chef. Like,
This is you.
I'll never
You said-
say
you said-
I'll never say I've worked in a.
I think that you said I'm changing my name
said-
legally to Tyler Beast Renfield.
I said I see a little bit of myself at the beginning of the movie.
yourself, specifically in the scene.
Oh my God! Shut up, honey.
I don't know how much you guys pay attention to the breakdown of the meal, but this is my favorite description. When it says,
Oh yes, at the end, Tyler's
when
meal.
they bring it up, Tyler's bullshit.
Bullshit.
Undercooked lamb, inedible shallot leek butter sauce. Utter lack of cohesion. So great.
It is. That is so good. And this wasn't planned, I guess, part of the menu. I think he says that. He's like, they're basically going off the cuff here. So we're adding a new course to the
It
menu.
says, although
so.
this was not intentionally included among the dishes, in a twist, it is revealed that Tyler knew he was, whatever. He knew all along.
Yeah.
So Julian humiliates Tyler, making him cook while everybody is observing and calling his food of undercooked lamb and inedible sauce terrible. It's at this point that Julian then, like, after they show off the meal and everything, like in the Food Network-y kind of style, Julian leans in, says something to Tyler, and Tyler takes his jacket off and walks off, and we are left to wonder, where did Tyler go?
But before all of this, he says, "You are why mystery is drained from all art." He's talking about Tyler and how he's the know-it-all, and how you're the reason that this is why things are
it's
the way
that
they
whole
are.
idea of like removing the magic of anything. Like, I just have to know everything about everything, and it just removes the mystique of it and like what makes it interesting. If you just see how all the mechanisms work, it's just not as fantastical or whatever if you know everything.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yes, and he leaves. We got that. And then it says Margot goes to talk to Chef. That's what I have in my notes after this.
Is that when they're starting to get ready for dessert and Chef sends her off to go find a barrel? And that's when she goes to the smokehouse. And this is what I'm talking about with like, so we didn't know she was there. Did he set her up to go get this barrel? Because like what Elsa talked about when they come into the house, so she goes in and she finds a knife. And I wonder if he knows Elsa so well that it will play out the way that it did play out.
I don't know. Like it was very interesting because it's like he's there. There's the three of them in the hallway. There is a dead body hanging of Tyler, who has now hung himself in a room. I'm believing it's like Chef's office. And they're all standing. Elsa, Chef, and Margot are standing in this back area, and he's like, "I need you to go to the smokehouse." And he makes Elsa give her the key. Like Elsa seems like she's gonna butt in, like, well, I can go do it, kind of thing. And he's basically rebuffing her and like, "No, this is what I said, do this." And so I don't know, like, yeah, she goes and does all of these things, and she ends up at his house, and she ends up with a knife and all of that. But like, I don't know if I honestly don't know. Like, that's the only weird part about this movie is like, what was the purpose of this? Like, why did he want her
I think it's
to do that?
specifically that he's basically making it that she's a servant, no more than they are, and he's giving her a job to do now. She's part of it.
But he lied.
What did he lie about?
Do you remember? Like, so he lied. So, okay, I'll take you through this part. So ends up going to the smokehouse, gets the knife. She gets curious and goes into the Chef's house and sees the pictures of Lillian on like Lillian's review is on there. And then it pans to him as like a burger chef when he was younger. And then she runs into Elsa. They get into a...
Before that was before that, though. Elsa and her fight before she sees the burger.
Okay. Well, at any rate, Elsa mentions that I won't be replaced. He didn't tell me about I didn't forget. He didn't tell me about the barrel. So it's not even so much that he's necessarily giving Margot a job, but it seems like in that he, like, does he know Elsa well enough that this would transpire?
I think it's more that maybe it was going to be somebody else that was going to do it, and he just pushed it off to Margot, and then Elsa, being the overachiever and everything, takes it as, well, what he could have told me. Why didn't he tell me? And I will not be replaced. And I don't think that's what he's trying to do at all. He's just giving her a job to do. And Elsa takes it upon herself to be like, I'm being replaced. This is something that he would have normally, like, everything's so pre-planned and all this stuff. Maybe it was something that, somebody else was going to get. We later find out what the keg is, or the barrel, but yeah. So then,
yeah, but Chef lies and says, like, she forgot to do this. I need you to go do this, Margot.
Does he?
Yeah.
I don't remember him saying that she forgot to do it, because he
does say that. He's like, I don't know if he said she forgot to do it, but he might have, when he was like, the barrel wasn't basically gotten. And he might have said that she forgot it, because then she reiterates, well, I didn't forget it because he didn't tell me.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean about, like, the puppet master component of it.
But part of me was also like, is this his way of wanting her to get free? And he's giving her the keys to go and leave, essentially. But that was my question, especially when we first watched it. It was like, this is his way of, like, giving her the go ahead to run away. I mean,
it's
they're
also
on an
a test
island,
for her, though, because when she goes to that house and stuff, she finds a radio, which we'll get to in a little bit, and he calls her out about that shit. So it could have been just like a test kind of thing. But so yeah, like, she's there at the house and everything. We see that his home kitchen is basically a, like, restaurant grade kitchen. Elsa gets all pissed, knife fight ensues, and it comes to the point where Margot ends up killing Elsa with the knife it looks almost like a bread knife or something. And it
looks like a fillet knife.
It's a carving, because it was in the smokehouse.
Oh, right on. So then Margot goes and starts kind of checking out the house. She finds what I guess is Chef's bedroom, and that's where you're talking about all the different places, like the review from the critic and all this stuff. No, his bedroom is right off the kitchen. You see the bed, and all of the stuff is very barren, just like it was in the place earlier in the movie where you saw where they live. So the only thing that's opulent in this house, other than it's nice on the outside, is his kitchen. Everything else is bare bones. And so you kind of go into this room, and this room is more like a museum of, like, you said it was his bedroom. It's his bedroom. It's his bed, and then on the walls there's just a couple things. It's not like.
I think his bedroom. I think his bed is in the living room.
I don't believe so. It is.
It's off to the left.
Whatever.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. But so, like, it's a museum to himself and everything. That's what I've got written down. But the big thing is I've got it here.
Hamburger Howie's.
Yeah, but there's more to it than just that. So a newspaper article in the chef's room shows that he once worked at a restaurant called Tantalus. Tantalus is the name of a character in Greek mythology. He invited the gods to his home for dinner, but tricked them into eating a stew made from the meat of their own sons, whom he had murdered and dismembered in order to test their omniscience. When the gods realized what he had done, they cursed Tantalus to stand in a shallow pool of water under a fruit tree. Anytime he would raise his hand for fruit, the tree branches would rise beyond his reach, and anytime he would bend down to drink the water would recede. Much the same way the chef has served the elite, the gods, and sacrificed his dream, his craft, and now all food and drink is meaningless to him. So that's the name of the restaurant that the critic talks about and stuff.
Okay. The one where she made him, you know, whatever she said, because of his chicken. Okay. That makes sense.
Also,
and then
we
goes
find
to the
out
other
that
ones.
Chef hails from Waterloo, Iowa, home of the infamous serial killer John Wayne Gacy. Both had working class alcoholic fathers who frequently beat them. Chef started his career making fast food cheeseburgers. John Wayne Gacy started his career making Kentucky Fried Chicken. Margot eats the burger and fries that Chef makes and assisted cooking before she leaves. John Wayne Gacy's last meal before he was executed was French fries and a bucket of fried chicken from KFC.
Oh, okay. And in that room, we also see the picture of him making his Hamburger Howie's Employee of the Month picture of him as chef when he was younger. And he's smiling in this picture, which I love because you don't see him smile in this movie, really.
It's obviously him and whatever, but it's not the same person. Like, the chef that you see before you in the movie is a broken man, and in that you can see that he's still like has hopes and dreams. And
and then she finds a radio in there and calls out to get help. And before this, which is, we missed this part, which isn't like a whole bunch, but we were talking about when Margot goes to the smokehouse, when he leaves her, and Chef re-enters the area where all the people are, and the actor addresses Chef. And he was like, do you want to know why you're being punished? So this is the time we actually find out about how he saw the movie of the calling Dr. Sunshine movie, and how he hated it, and how what we had just talked about earlier. And then that's when the assistant he was like, what about her with the assistant? Because she isn't like necessarily bad. And then he was like, oh, okay, well, where do you go to school? And she's like, Brown. And he was like, okay. And he was like, do you have any school debt? And she's like, no. He's like, you still die.
Shame.
I like that.
And I love that. Yeah, it was great. So she calls on that radio, but we don't see any of that. So we don't know what the conversation is. It cuts back to us being in the building with all of the patrons, customers, and it's a birthday for one of the dude bros.
As Margot is allowed to leave at the end of the menu, it becomes clear she is different from the other guests as Julian asks Margot for help with the dessert. So, where is it? Whether this was previously planned or just a way to buy some time before Margot returns, it's simply hilarious to see the murderous staff giving a guest a cake and even singing the birthday song like a normal restaurant. There's no other reason to it than that. Like, it's just like, because one of the guys was like, yeah, we called ahead and said it was your birthday. So they ended up making a birthday cake for him. And they're just like, what the fuck is going on? So, the birthday cake has entered the chat, and then Margot shows up and has the barrel.
But she comes in badass style. She like comes carrying this motherfucker, and she like kicks it. She's like, fuck this. Here's your shit.
Kitchen.
Yeah. Yep. She's like, take your shit. I love that. Cause it was like, I'm following your orders, but I'm not following your orders. I guess
there's a line. I can't remember exactly what starts him to talk about this or whatever, but Julian makes a statement about like, I am a monster. And he's like, I am a whore. Like, he's like referring to the fact that, like, you know, he is monstrous in like what he's doing, but it's not that. Like, I'm being used. Like, that's kind of like how I read it from that. And then where are we at? Oh,
a boat arrives, and they have to pretend like nothing is amiss. Because the Coast Guard Dale comes to visit. So her call goes through, and he comes and shows up, and Chef's like having a conversation with them and is like, do you want to be the person that makes an innocent man die because you don't sit here and pretend like everything's okay? And although as if like somebody wouldn't walk in and see all these people fucked up because like they were out running in the woods and like all of these things, and we got a guy missing a finger, like all of that. But they have to pretend this, and Chef like lays it on pretty thick, like, you know,
play the part or I'm gonna kill him is essentially what he's saying.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Do you want to kill an innocent man? Yeah.
When the guy comes in, he like asks like, anyone call for 911? And everyone's just kind of silent and everything. And then he notices across the way, he sees John Leguizamo's character. And he's like, hey, are you? And John Leguizamo was like, yep, I'm that guy. Like, you notice me. He's almost like you, like, oh, maybe you can save us in a way. Like in his head, you can see it like, oh, this dude notices me. Maybe this is my way out. And the boat captain comes up to him. He's like, oh man, my wife and I loved you in that movie, Calling Dr. Sunshine. Can I get your autograph? And he's like, oh yeah, man, yeah, totally. Sign.
No, Chef, it like insists that Dale gets his autograph and makes it really awkward.
That's right.
Yeah. And Shep is the one that gives them the pen.
Right.
So this is where in the movie where we were talking, like, what does he know or what doesn't he know?
Right.
Because we find out, spoiler here, Dale, the guy that shows up, is in on it, and he isn't actually like the Coast Guard guy, or if he is, he's not actually like there to get in anybody trouble, like, or to help anybody. So obviously the call goes through, and he has that radio in his house, and he knows she has the key. The thing though about that kind of radio, though,
and I didn't notice until I was doing research, because I thought it was like a like shortwave radio that could get out there. It isn't. It's just like a basically like
for the island.
It's like a CB kind of thing. So as much as they think, or she thinks that like she's able to like call out, the only person that you're actually going to be able to get a hold of is our guy, like on the boat, that's like probably just patrolling or whatever, so yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's not like by happenstance or anything. Like, it's straight up like, well, he probably uses it to contact other people on the island. Just, it's easier to do that than lay phone lines and stuff, but
okay, that makes more sense.
But so when that's all going on, the boat captain starts walking away, and he goes to look at his autograph that he got, and it says, I believe it just says like, help us, or something to that degree. And he turns around, they're all like, he like points the gun at Julian, is like, put your hands up and everything, and everyone's like, yeah, he fucking did it, he's the guy, he's fucking crazy, all this stuff. And the captain takes his gun, like starts pointing it at the birthday guy, and starts walking up closely, and then you find out that the gun's actually a lighter. He lights the birthday cake candle, and we find out that the captain was actually part of the kitchen staff, as he disrobes and puts on a chef's jacket and goes into the kitchen to start working. And this is where we get our final course, or we get ready to get our final course anyhow, because at this point we're getting ready to, but Margot collapses. So Margot is taking on, like, she's like, I'm commanding this room in a way. So every single time that a course has happened, the chef has clapped, and now we're getting a supplemental course. So
yep. And Margot, she stands, like, she's like, I don't like your food, and I would like to send it back. Like, she is standing her fucking
she's like,
ground.
I'm still hungry. Everything you've given me has been kind of garbage, and I want a cheeseburger. Like, it's a little more nuanced, but like, he's like, what you want? So it's like, yeah, I want a cheeseburger. It's like, how?
Well, no, she's talking about how for starters, you took the joy out of eating, because the whole thing, it was like pretentious bullshit. And then when I eat your food, it tastes as if it has made with no love. And he was like, no, we all know that the ingredient of all food, the main ingredient is love. And she's like, no, you cook you cook with obsession. You do not cook with love. And he is like riveted by her in a weird way when I watch it, because I just rewatched that part today, and I love this part. And then he's like, you know what I'd really like? And he's like, what? And she's like, well, what do you have? And he's like, we have everything. And she's like, I want a cheeseburger, a real cheeseburger. And then he's like, I'll make you the cheeseburger your parents could have never afforded, or that your parents could barely afford. And like the greasy, diner burger concept. And he's like, do you want, like, what did he say, julienne or crinkle cut fries? And we don't know until she gets served the meal what's been chosen. But like, you watch him get this joy of just making this very basic, delicious fucking looking burger. And I love the simplicity of this, because it breaks down how it's just a burger, guys. Like, it's not fancy food. It's not pretentious. It's about as simple as you can get. And he's smiling as he's cooking it. And I think
that's the first time that we ever get any uplifting music too. Yep. This is the first time that you
Okay.
get any of that, because like, so when he's asking like her order and stuff, it's basically his mannerisms and stuff come way back to, instead of being this elite chef, it's very much coming up to the table with a pen and pad. Like, how would you like your burger? Medium. What kind of cheese?
Yeah.
American cheese. Oh, well, that's the best cheese for a burger. It melts without breaking.
Yep.
Like and then he just goes back. You get this kind of uplifting music as he's smashing down some burgers and everything. It comes out on a nice sesame seed bun with some crinkle cut fries. And, yeah, like, I got that burger looks so good. And Anya agrees. Margot, takes a bite out of it, and chef's like, so is it good? She's like, not bad. And she has resurfaced his love for cooking, that in a way, like, this is like the first time that he's had joy cooking. He doesn't say it, but you can tell, like, this is the first time that he's enjoyed cooking for someone in many, many years. And he says, thank you for dining at Hawthorne. And she's like, thank you for everything. And enjoy your gift bag, goodies. Barrett's finger, like there's like,
That's different.
That's
jumping
different.
forward.
Yeah.
She asks for the burger to go, almost as like a little nod to, so can I go while everyone else here gets murdered?
Correct.
And he lets her go. And I think and that's the time where, like, before, I can't remember exactly what I said before, but like the morality. I feel like he doesn't decide to let her live until she calls him out and like brings him back to reality. Like, giving him his love of cooking back, at least for that moment, was her reward, and her reward for that is to be able to live.
Yes. Well, my favorite part about that is he almost has this innocence to him at this point. Like, he has this like shy, waiting to see if she loves it feel, like what you would have if you're feeding somebody something that you've made with love, that you really want them to enjoy. And he's like, biting his nails, not really, but like he's waiting for it. And she even says, now that is a cheeseburger. Like, it's like, or maybe he says that, and then she's like, well, with like what you said to go, like, she was like, she doesn't just be like, can I leave? She's like, I think my eyes are a little bit bigger than my stomach. Like, she plays that up. Like, I'm not leaving and taking this with me because I'm running away, which we know she is, but she's just playing it up like, I can't eat anymore.
Right.
And I love that. But yeah, I think that you kind of get that light bulb moment from him. And he's like, she puts a $10 bill on the table and takes a little doggy bag he makes for her, and with the gift bag that has the stuff in it.
Locally sourced granola. And then he starts.
That's for the other
Yeah,
people.
but he starts, like, he gives her that, and then he starts saying, like, don't forget your gift bags. It's with locally sourced granola.
Yep.
One of Barrett's fingers, which is
like
the
that,
husband that got his finger cut off and everything. So she ends up leaving. And it's at this point that we get onto the dessert course, which the dessert course is s'mores. So while this is going on, so I've got a couple different things I need to kind of get at, because this is all happening at the same time. He's talking to them about, how all of these gross items, this like heavily processed chocolate and this horrific marshmallow fluff, and yes,
that you would agree with.
All these things that, when brought together through fire, make a delectable confectionery thing. And he, like, while he's saying this, the staff is putting these marshmallow vests on people and putting like marshmallow chocolate hats on, like, not fake, real things. And he says, you represent the ruin of my art and my life. Now you get to be part of it. And that's my favorite quote of his, is the fact that, like, you all are here because you have ruined everything that I have loved. I used to love to cook, and because of your pompous bullshit, I can no longer, you have ruined my love for the only thing that I love. Because when he's talking to Jeremy earlier during the mess and everything, he's basically talking about, like, this is all I've ever done. And not just like all I've ever done is cook. I have, like, 20-hour days, like all this crazy stuff, basically saying like, in a way, like, you know, no time for family, no time for relationships. This is everything. And when this is everything, and like the population that you serve do not appreciate it, they are overly critical for no real reason other than for their own selfish reasons and stuff like that, there's nothing left. Fuck this. We're going out in a blaze of glory, and you're coming fucking. You want to fucking be. You want to say that you know me, or you want to say that your review of my stuff is what made me, and that's more. You're more important than what I've done. Fine, then you can be part of my last dish. So as they're fitting them with that, they're doing like the spoon swipes of stuff like on the floor, and like the whole dining area and stuff is basically decorated as if it were a plate.
It's beautiful. Like, it's really well put together. Even though it's just like their last hurrah.
So after everybody pays, the staff prepares the final course. S'mores may be a simple course, even called boring by chef, but it is often associated with childhood, innocence, and good memories. Out of the menu's movie dishes, this was also the most epic, a fitting finale for everyone involved. Ironically, the dish ends everybody's life with the fire necessary to make the s'mores, killing everybody and destroying the restaurant. After all, as explained multiple times throughout the menu, Chef Julian's plan only works if the guests die. So what he ends up doing is they're pouring like basically like alcohol on the patrons. Yeah. He pours it onto himself, and basically is saying like that he's going to purify them through fire and brace the flame. It cuts to like Margot on the boat, and she's just on that boat that came earlier and everything.
Well, he's talking about rebirth, and like this is where we're starting from scratch again, essentially. And the woman, this is where like when Margot leaves, this is where my turnaround for the wife is, where so when Margot leaves originally and she's walking out like hesitant because she's feeling guilt because she's leaving all these people behind, the woman basically just shoos her away and is like, go, like, get away from here. And then so she holds no anger towards her for being with her husband. She wants her to escape. But then in this scene, and this is what and it gives me chills just thinking about it, as Chef is standing there and he's got a hot coal, I think, in his hand, but he pulls directly from the fire. He is giving him this speech about the purifying and all of this. And the woman, when he finishes, she thanks him. She says, thank you. And then the motherfucker drops the coal. And I'm just like,
as he gets ready to drop the coal, he says, we must be cleansed like martyrs and heretics. Again, another nod to like the religious undertones of this film and stuff like that. Chef burns with the s'mores. He's basically the catalyst of it, which I think is beautiful. So he drops it, which he then erupts into flame, and the flame follows the alcohol to all of the patrons as they then become s'mores. They begin to burn. The kitchen staff begins to burn. I believe it's the barrel that they brought in. It looks like maybe it was like full of propane, how it was like blowing and everything.
And they turn
all the ovens on, and then we cut to Margot sitting on the boat, and you can see in the reflection of her eyes the explosion of the hawthorn, and Margot eats a cheeseburger watching it burn, wipes the mouth off with the actual physical copy of the menu. And we get credits. That's the end of the film.
And the description of s'more is marshmallow, chocolate, graham cracker, customers, staff, restaurant. Just those little details. I love those little details.
And I love the other part where he's getting ready to die, and he's like, "I love you all," and then everybody in the area for the cooking area is like, "We love you, chef," and then that's when all hell breaks loose.
It's such it's such a heartfelt way, because he's not like, "I love you all." It's very like a commander to his army. It's like, "I love you all." They're like, "I love you, chef," and then he drops the fucking thing, and everything burns. And
And you get to see like the melting of the chocolate on people's heads. And like, I love the visuals of this. Like, it's not grotesque in any way. It's actually very artful. And I like how the whole movie is just very artful, but I really liked that.
So
about that.
that's, as far as I'm aware, that's The Menu from 2002. So, at this point, we will give our own little score ratings for this movie. Does anybody want to go first?
I will. Okay. So I love so many parts of this movie. I really like that when I originally watched the trailer for it, I thought it was going to be kind of the usual like chef serves people concept.
I thought that too.
So right. So I really liked that it took a weird spin, and I disagree with the 1 out of 10 review saying that it was a common storyline, because I've never seen anything like this. And like I said at the beginning, I really enjoy like food culture and following chefs and blah blah blah. So that's the setup of this movie is something that I'm kind of familiar with as far as like the kitchen and blah blah blah, all of that. So I really liked just the setting in general of this. I really liked the satire in it, which was something that I had to go back and make sure that it was supposed to be that way, which once I figured that part out, the second time watching this, I loved it even more than the first, because you notice a lot more subtle nuances, like a lot of knowing looks and maybe phrases that lead into foreshadowing that you don't notice the first time around. I loved that. All said, I could talk about, like, we just talked about it at length, so I'm not going to go back into it, but I give it an 8. I plan on rewatching it. I tell people about it often, like I told you guys. The casting in it is really good. The character development is just enough. Everything ties together nicely. It leaves me only with that one question that we talked about of how much did he know, or how much did it play out the way it was supposed to because she was there. All in all, it's a beautifully made movie on so many different levels. Solid 8 out of 10.
I agree. Yep, that's good. So I'm going to kind of go at this a little bit differently because I have some other ratings from other family members that I asked them. So I'm going to go with mine first. I wasn't sure if I was going to like this movie the second time around as much as I liked it the first, because that seems to be a going trend sometimes when you already know what's going to happen. I did not feel that way after I watched this movie. I will watch this movie again, hands down. I really, really like this movie. It's like I've said already in this, it's very artful. It's very... I'm very big on writing and story driven and the way the plots are put together. And if it makes sense, this makes sense. It ties everything up beautifully. It is very well written. It's actually brilliantly written, in my opinion. And it's not in an over complex way if you look at it at the base, but it is the way they execute it is what makes it brilliant. And I do wish we would have known kind of a couple little bits and pieces, like Tasha was saying, especially like what did he say to Tyler that then forced Tyler to go hang himself and things like that we will never know.
I think he specifically just said, "I don't like you."
Probably.
Yeah, I don't like you. Go hang yourself.
Yeah. Probably, but like those are the parts that I want to know, because I want to kind of see that for character building. And but overall, I love this movie, and I loved it more this time than I even liked it the first time. And then watching it obviously with other people and seeing their reactions to this movie also kind of bumps it up a little bit, because they're also getting something out of it as well. So my initial rating, I think going into this was like yesterday, I think I said I was going to be like an 8 or something like that. But I give this an 8.5. I think that this is definitely a movie people should watch. I really liked it, and I would recommend it. I've already recommended it to some of my readers, so I would definitely do that. And I talked to our kids about this, other than Kylie, because she's kind of left out. So Maya, the one that watched it with us last night, she rated it last night a 9.75. She loves this movie. But when I talked to her about it today, she said, after she watched it a second time, she said, I would rate this a 9 to a 9.25. And I said, why did you change that? She said, because she's 15. She's like, we stopped the movie a lot last night when we were watching it to talk about things, to make notes and kind of go back. And she was like, if I didn't have that where we could talk and have the dialogue about things, she's like, I wouldn't have caught on to as much. So she appreciated it more because of that. And then we talked to her boyfriend and our daughter Noelle, who had already seen it, and they gave a 7 and a 7.5. And then our son Wes, who's very young, so most of this is very over his head because he's 10, he's very young. He gave this a 9.5. He thought it was amazing. So, and him and I kind of talked about it a little bit because he didn't understand certain parts. And so we kind of had to have a little bit of discussion, and then what he thought it was, what it meant, and then what I thought it meant, so you could get his perspective. So we talked about that earlier today. But yeah, my rating's at 8.5. And I think that all the other people who've watched this that we know have kind of, they agree. They really like this movie.
I'll make mine short and sweet. I like this movie. I enjoyed watching it the second time to see like more little things here and there, like, oh, I didn't notice this look, or I didn't notice that, or things of that nature. Researching this was a lot of fun because of the researching and rewatching it critically and stuff. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not going to rewatch this anytime soon, personally, just because maybe in a year or something I could throw it on, or watch it, like maybe throw this on during Thanksgiving at mom and dad's house, and
love it,
see what they think of it and stuff. I would watch it in that circumstance. For my own personal reason, though, to watch it, it's going to be a little bit, just because I've seen it twice in the last year, and then doing all the research and stuff. In a way, kind of like Chef Julian says, it loses its magic when you know everything about it. For this movie, it kind of does that for me in a little bit. By no means does that affect the scoring of it. I'm not docking it points because of that or anything, but my rewatching of it is definitely muted a little bit because of that. All that being said, I came into this expecting, rating it off of what I remembered. I was like, I think it's probably like a 7. It's like it could drop, if it really sucks upon subsequent viewing, it could drop down to a 6. So I was like, it could lose a point, and at the most, I think it could gain a half point. So it could get up to 7.5. And then after doing all the research and stuff like that, I was fighting with, is it a 7.5? Is it an 8? So I'm actually going to split the difference of that, and I'm going to give it a 7.75. I don't know if I will, not that I'm never going to rewatch this. I don't know if I will. It's not, I don't love it as much as you guys do, it seems, a little bit, but
what's not splattery and goofy enough for you?
Well, no,
realistically?
I mean, yeah, for that reason, it's not, there's nothing, the narrative is there. The story is pretty tied up and everything. After watching it a few times and stuff, you kind of get it. But, like I said, 7.75 is what I'm giving it. So, Tasha, what's that give us for our graded score?
It gives us an 81.
81.
Dang.
All right. So this movie makes it into our top 3. This just beats out Evil Dead by 1 point.
Okay.
So this is second to Scream by the trio of terror.
Yeah. Okay. So here's another thing. Who was your guys' favorite character in the movie?
My favorite character is Chef Julian.
Okay.
I bounce between Chef and Margot. So
yeah. Those are the only 2 characters that matter realistically in my book in this movie.
Yeah.
Everybody else is cannon fodder in a way, and just side stuff to what the important part of it is.
Yeah, but some people could like Tyler because he's a terrible asshole, and they like terrible assholes.
yeah.
But yeah,
if somebody says Tyler's their favorite character, I'm going to show them the exit.
Yeah, I think the chef shines a little brighter in this. I think he's also a more tragic character, so I think that kind of hits you a little bit more in the chest than her character does. But yeah, yeah, that's what I would say too.
Honorable mention to John Leguizamo playing Steven Seagal.
Yeah, that's definitely that's a weird I don't even, it's kind of fucked up, but it's funny.
Yeah, I like that pettiness. It's great.
It kind of is, yeah. Like Steven Seagal can't act, and I'm going to act like Steven Seagal. So.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. So that brings us to Movie Club. So, Movie Club for next week, we will be watching a movie that, as far as I'm aware, none of us have watched.
Uh-oh.
It's been on my list since I had heard about it.
I'm scared.
I have talked to Steph about it, and Steph had interest in watching this movie. This movie also seems like it would be up Tasha's alley. So this is why this movie is getting brought to the forefront. I feel that... Is
it a Mike Flanagan film?
No, It is not. This film goes by the title, The Night House.
Oh, yeah. That sounds cool.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we will be watching The Night House for our next episode.
All right.
For Pot of the Dead, I am Nicholas.
I'm Stephanie.
And I am Tasha.
Come back and listen to us, or else.